Um, so I know Pasamba and Musa. You are
Sariang Marong.
Saria Marong. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to see you too. Okay.
Definitely.
So
Good,
welcome.
good.
Musa couldn't get the invitation across the cousin, so that's why it took a little longer. So you will know a little bit of history between Musa and the cousins here soon. So.
Now you need to explain, because the cousins, maybe he doesn't know what the cousins mean.
You need to explain that to
He
me.
will, doctor will trust me. He will know soon.
Okay. But since we are not yet online, since we are not yet live,
No, we're
Musa.
live now. We're live.
Oh, we are live.
We're
Oh,
live,
okay,
sir.
okay. All right. Because Musa, I understand you have some links with Kaur.
Yes, and I'm actually gonna get to that.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
It's like
Please,
I kinda
please, Dr. Manneh, don't tell me you're also from Kaur.
if there is
I
one
am.
thing,
I am a
there is
Salum
one
Salum.
thing, if there is one thing that I'm so
Yeah.
excited about today on this
Yeah.
platform, there are
Uh-huh.
two smart people on this platform today. And you know what? They have a couple of things in common.
Uh-huh.
They're both from Dandimayo.
Dan de Mayo, there you go.
They all went to the elite school, GHS. So now,
There you go. Is a South guy here?
Oh my God.
both of them. And you're gonna
Oh
soon
dear.
find out.
I keep telling Peter Gomez that he went to the wrong school. So you guys also went to the wrong school.
Oh my
All right.
God.
This sports school. Dr. Manneh, when I first saw you, I'm like, I don't know. I really recognize this guy big time. And
Because
when I know, I'm like, he's from Kaur.
I saw a picture of you online, and I was like, this guy looks familiar to me.
Exactly.
Because I think, you know what, you remind me of one of our Sun Papai, Pamusa Jeng.
Yes.
Are you related to him?
Related, absolutely.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And I also remember you even at Gambia High, because when I
Okay.
I think when we came in, you were still there
in the 60s,
something like that.
I came to Gambia School in 1970, September 70.
Okay, that's just in the 60s.
Exactly. So so who were your contemporaries in Kaur primary school? Who?
Kaur's primary school from Woptown, I was with Adam Anjay, Tijan Jai, Nasiru Newlands, Nasiru Newlands, Jennifer Newlands, you know, and then Turekunda, you had these, Turekunda and Jarekunda, you had the Lasana Janes, the Sehu Janes, Rena Jaite, etc. And then the ladies were Senator Jalo and Co, you know, yeah. These were my contemporaries.
Those names, they ring a bell. They definitely do. Without a doubt.
That's right.
But it's good to have you on this platform. I always listen to you on Peter Gomez, of course. I follow you very closely. And,
the pleasure is all mine to be here. Thank you.
Good work you do. And also a good friend of mine, very close. There's good things about you. Lamin Barrow. You guys work at the ADB. Yeah.
Who's that?
Lamin Barrow. Lam.
Oh, Lam. Yes. Yes, he's now in the Nigeria office.
Exactly.
Very good guy. Yeah, very good guy.
But again, welcome to the platform. Pap Samba. So
thank you very much.
Yes, just to really thank you for coming. So I'm going
to
do what
mine.
normally Sarian would do. Dr. Lamin Manneh, apart from coming from that place called Kaur and going to the second-rate high school, Gambia High, who is actually Dr. Lamin Manneh. Just give us a rundown about who you are, your life, and your life experiences. Maybe that would give our listeners a greater perspective of your thinking and your political leanings and
Okay.
all. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. As I said, my grandparents hail from Nyomi, but I was born in Kaur and raised in Kaur Dandemayo until I did my primary six, um, examinations, common entrance examinations, they were called at the time. And then I moved to Banjul, went to Gambia High School. And then after Gambia High School, I wanted to read international law in French. So people thought I was a bit crazy at the time, though. So, but anyway, so for that, you had to go to Dakar first. I got a French government scholarship, so you had to go to Dakar to do 1-year course in Dakar because they thought that we didn't learn enough French. We didn't know enough French to study at university level in France. So you usually go to Dakar for a year. So we went to Dakar for a year, which was more of a recreation for us because we didn't learn much in Dakar. We had learned all that in Gambia High School already. So from Dakar University, 1 year, 9 months, then we went to France. And I read a bachelor's in public international law in France at the University of Grenoble. And from there, I went to Dijon to do a master's in private international law. Then I came back to the Gambia for vacation to go back to a PhD. My mom didn't accept, so I stayed. And at the time, the economic recovery program was on, so they couldn't recruit. There was a freeze on recruitments. And so Hassan Jallo, he was the Minister of Justice at the time, the current Chief Justice. He took me in there for a while and then referred me to Jabez Langley, who was Secretary General at the time. So they told me, we want to keep you, but we don't have any possibility of recruiting anybody now. There's a freeze on employment. So they sent me to the Senegambia Confederation to do a test. And fortunately, I passed that test and they recruited me to the Senegambia Confederation as technical advisor. I went there and worked with Pierre Diouf, one of my biggest mentors. And he was the Secretary General of the Senegambia Confederation at the time. I worked with him and then he sent me on different courses. He sent me to University of Pittsburgh to learn to study development management. And then when I came back, he sent me also to University of Manchester, Salford, Manchester, to read translation interpretation because that was one of the major cost items in the budget because we were having a lot of fees to pay for confederal meetings. And he thought since I was proficient in the two languages, he said, yeah, you're going to do more than just the legal part. You're going to do translation interpretation as well. So he sent me there, so I did that as well. But before I came back, the wound up with me. I should say this actually, we have some issues with the internet here these days. So I may have breaks of 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, so it looks like you're not part of those receiving the free internet.
So please bear with me when that happens. No. I'm not that fortunate. Yeah. So anyway, I came back to work for the African Development Bank, but in between, after the
the connection is really bad.
Appointment. Sorry about that again. So as I said, I came back, I worked for the President's office under President Jawara for 3 months. And then my letter of appointment came and I went to ADB. So I spent virtually all my working life at the ADB from 1991 until I retired in 2019. So I've been in the ADB all the time in different capacities. So in a nutshell, that's Lamin Manneh.
Wow, impressive career. And Lamin, all of a sudden, we hear now Lamin Manneh, the technocrat, becomes Lamin Manneh, the politician. What
Yes.
drove you into joining the UDP? Were you always a member of the UDP or a low-key member of the UDP? But what drove you into politics? Now you've gone away from just being, I think we've lost him. Oh, okay, we've got him back. You know?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yes. So what
Yes.
drove you into politics?
When I came back home, actually, my intention was to have a breather, do the things I wanted to do all the time. I couldn't do them, just have an easy time, enjoy my retirement. I had been in a very hectic program at the ADB, so I thought this time to retire. But when I came back home and I saw the situation of the country, I saw how bad things were going. I knew I just couldn't stay in the background, enjoy my retirement and be cool, and then see the whole of the country going down the drain. And my neighbors, my friends, my relatives, etc., I saw the country was in a very bad way. So I thought, we can't just sit here and just mind our business and let the country slide down the drain. We have to come up and do what we can to give back to the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in touch with a number of political parties at the time, UDP, DOI, GFA. I've been in touch with all of those people. And then I scouted around and then looked again at their programs, their manifestos and everything. And I thought, the UDP is a better fit for me. So I joined the UDP much more full-time from that point on. Because I was tempted at one point to just be in the background in social, the social sector and in the activism and write and discuss. But I thought I needed more than that. I needed an organized political structure where we can have an impact, where we can bring change to the country and bring the country back to sanity. Because what's happening in the country is just not acceptable. We are in a very bad way. And we just can't keep quiet about that, and we just can't hope that things will go the right way. We have to stand up and be counted and do what we need to do to bring about change. And I hope that by speaking out and speaking against some of the things that were going wrong, I hope the government would listen and that they would change what needed to be changed, what could be changed. There are certain things, I think those are basics. I thought we would understand each other on those things, and then we could just go for something. Hopefully they would listen, because any sane government should listen to its opposition and pick ideas from them and blend them with your ideas and move forward. So I was hoping for that. But instead of that, what I saw was more antagonism, and anything you say can only be wrong because it's coming from the opposition. So I realized that, okay, I have to go in here and just do what I need to do and start being a militant and a full-time political supporter of one of the parties, and then hopefully bring about change. So that's how I joined the UDP. I met Mr. Dabo. I met Amadou Sane first, and then I discussed with him. I told him I want to join the UDP full-time. And then he took me to Mr. Dabo and some members of the National Executive. We had a long chat. I asked questions. They answered my questions. I tried to understand what they were doing and, what were their principles, etc., what they stood for. I knew it already, but I just wanted to hear from them. So after listening to all of that, I said, okay, I think I'm convinced. I'm joining you. So from then on, there was no looking back. So there we are. Since then, this was from early 2020. So since then, I've been a full-fledged member of the UDP. Before I could not, because as an international civil servant, you had to be very careful what you do and what you say, because you're not entitled to politics. You are not entitled to take certain positions because they would adversely affect your institution. So we couldn't do that. But when I took my retirement, I was on my own. I was free to do what I wanted, with certain restrictions, of course, still, because certain things you cannot say which might negatively and adversely impact the ADB. So still careful about that. But to a large extent, I own my time. I do with it what I want and say what I want.
Well,
yeah.
I'm
so
glad
in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're into politics. You just chose the wrong party because when you met with Doi, you were supposed to stick there. But anyway, I let Musa Osari come next.
You know, I could easily have gone to Doi because Sidia Jata is a big brother, and
Too late.
we were in university together in France. When he came back to France, we were in the same city in Grenoble, you know,
Yeah.
and I
It's
knew
still
Khalifa
not
and
too
a
late.
number of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway, thank
yeah,
you though for that rundown.
So,
Yeah, I'll Sari and Musa. Mhm.
so
yeah.
I think I'm going to self my first question and kind of just do a little bit of a follow up. With
Mm-hmm,
most political observers, a lot of people,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
retirees and intellectuals that were not involved in politics, you said you
mm-hmm.
joined the UDP in 2020.
Yes.
Would it be fair, because there were a lot of people that joined UDP around that time before the 2021, and they
Mm-hmm,
made this calculation that this is the
mm-hmm.
party that is going to be in government. So was it part of your calculus to say that, you know what, maybe this is the party for me? What say you?
Actually, yes, a number of people actually did make that calculation, yes. But I was hoping that this
Mhm,
party would win and then I can fully take my retirement. I had ADB on my back and I still do
mhm,
for consultancies, for a number of things they want me to do, and I could not do it.
mhm,
And a number of things I wanted to do, traveling and reading and a lot of things I could not do. So I was hoping that once we do this, my conscience will be a lot more free. I'm not
mhm,
just enjoying myself when my country is suffering. Then I can easily withdraw from politics and go and do what I needed to do. The country, I think, would have been on the right track. And
mhm,
if the elections results didn't turn out the way they did, because I believe we won, I was sitting there. If it didn't turn that way, I probably would have been retired by now doing what I wanted to do. So that was,
absolutely.
yes, but yes, a number of people did make that calculation. But
Mhm,
I frankly didn't want to be straddled with anything, a 9 to 5 job or an 8 to 4 job, etc. I had done enough of that. I had
absolutely.
given so much of my time on constantly working under pressure for 29 years. I didn't want
Mhm,
any more of that pressure. I wanted to have a quiet, relaxed time at retirement and enjoy that, and to a certain extent also just spend more of my time, in my, praying and doing the things I needed to do to get closer to my God. So yeah,
absolutely.
that was my calculation. So the jobs and
Absolutely.
the rest weren't really my thing, because I didn't
Mhm,
fancy, going to government and doing any of those things because it's a bit of a problem and a bit of a downside for me.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Manneh, like you,
Yes.
we talked about, I mean, you're from Kaur, I am from Kaur.
Mm-hmm.
Going way back in the 70s, Kaur was really
Yes.
seen as an economic hub. I mean,
Big one. Big time.
coming
Big time.
from Senegalese, coming from Uganda, from Kafring,
Yeah.
Lebanese, shopkeepers, and
Yeah.
Kaur was
Yes.
just the place to go.
Booming. Yeah.
Employment
Yeah.
booming. Everybody
Yeah.
talks about Dandemile. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
was there just last year and I cried. Kaur has
Oh,
become
thank
a
you.
sleepy town.
Thank you.
Something happened to Kaur.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Manneh,
Yeah.
what went wrong? And now that you are part of a political party, how can we
Hmm.
bring those glory days back again to Kaur? Not only Kaur, the
Um,
Kuntaur, the Bases, and the Bansangs.
exactly.
What is there? What went wrong? And what is there you
Hmm.
think a UDP
Hmm.
government can actually do for village towns like Kaur to bring them back?
Musa, I'm really happy you asked that question because when I was growing Kaur, it was booming. My grandfather was a foreman at the what was called at the time GOM, now GPMB, and then Granite Council. And GPMB was booming, GOM was booming, Kaur was booming. One of those towns where we had a cinema, we had all sorts of things, and everybody was flocking to Kaur. From around October to maybe May, June, Kaur's population almost doubled. People
Mhm,
coming from everywhere to work in GPMB, to work in all sorts of things, and people coming from Senegal to Kaur. Kaur was booming. and the trade was going on. And Kaur got neglected like all the other inland cities because we let the cities die through the neglect of the riverine transport. 1, 2, the groundnut trade that was going in the area, and all the trade that came through the riverine transport. When all of those things started failing, cities like Kaur started going down the drain. We were having ocean-going vessels coming all the way to Kaur and Kuntaur to pick groundnuts and take them to Europe. And this was creating major employment prospects and possibilities in Kaur and Kuntaur. And all of the cities and villages around that area, from Kuntaur all the way down to Balangar and beyond, everybody was coming to get employment in Kaur. People were in Kaur. Some people, like those who lived in Balangar, would come to Kaur for the whole day, and in the evening they go back to flourishing. We had the Lebanese Syrians, as you said, the Najibs, the Shahins, and all of those people were there, and it was flourishing. And we can bring these things back if we change, if we give agriculture and we produce again enough groundnuts they need. They won't go back to farming en masse if you still go.
Yeah, the internet is really horrible.
I think it's the UDP internet connection.
Go to chillers and what have you. Sorry about this. The internet is really bad here these days.
Right.
Yeah. So if you bring those things back, you can get Kaur and Kuntaur and Jao and all of those places back again, because the groundnut trade will be restored. And then you can again have ocean-going vessels coming up to pick groundnuts, or we can have our own groundnut milling areas. We can have the oil production. We can have so many other things like we have in Saro. We could replicate that in Kaur, in Kuntaur, and other places. And when the ADB, where I used to work, when we built the Senegambia Bridge, or the Transgambia Bridge, as we called it, that's why we have it, in so high above the water. At the beginning, we thought of doing a drawbridge, but given the maintenance problems we have in Africa, we thought a drawbridge would be a very big liability very quickly. So do a bridge with enough arch and expanse that would allow some of the ocean-going vessels to go under the bridge, to go up country, to go to Kaur, Kuntaur, Basse, to pick up groundnuts, to pick up other merchandise, and bring them to the markets in Banjul and Greater Banjul area. If we do that, we create employment in those places again. We will revive those cities. We will revive riverine transport. We will revive business and trading on the area, because at the time, people were coming to Banjul and Greater Banjul and buying everything from fish, smoked fish, anything, buy it and take it up country. And when they go back, they would take things from the hinterland. People used to take baobab, mangoes, sedum, what have you. They took everything, and so the trade was both ways, and people are making money out of that. So, in addition, we could have tourism, ecotourism now. We can do that on the River Gambia. So places like all the way from Albreda, all the way to Basse, we can have stops at different places with different activities, and tourists could go there and have a good time there, enjoy themselves, and have different activities for them. We have that benefit of the River Gambia. We can do that. In addition, if we start that again, we can start transporting. When Mali and Senegal Oriental, Eastern Senegal, they import a lot through the Gambia. We can create a dry dock in Kaur, in Kuntaur, in Basse. So when goods come to Banjul port, of course we'll have to redo the port and make it stronger. When goods come to Banjul port, we can transship them from the Banjul port on barges, on smaller vessels, down to a dry port in Kaur, down to a dry port, maybe even in Farafenye and Balingo, you can start to have some dry ports there. But probably from Farafenye, you have a dry port in Farafenye, a dry port in Kuntaur, in Kaur, in Kuntaur, in Basse. So people in the Salum area can pick up their goods from Farafenye or from Kaur or from Kuntaur and go over to Salum. So the transportation is cheaper for them and we become competitive. Those going to Senegal Oriental and to Mali can pick up their goods from Basse. So the distance to be traveled will be shorter for them, so we become very competitive compared to Senegalese ports. Okay? And in addition, we will increase the lifespan of our roads. Because all the heavy-duty vehicles that are plying the roads from Banjul on both banks, North Bank and South Bank, all the way to Basse and Fatoto, these vehicles are often overloaded, heavily overloaded, and they are destroying our roads at a faster rate. If you have the riverine transport and you take the goods down the river, it will be cheaper, it will be more cost-effective, it will protect our roads. And you will create markets and businesses all around the river for all of those villages. So you can bring back the Kaurs and the like, Kaur, Kuntaur, Njao, Basse, and so forth, Farafenye, Balingo, all of them, Sankuya, all of those places can be brought back to life. So these are some of the areas because we can do that. So the riverine transport, the groundnut trade, the ecotourism, and the businesses that are going to flourish between those regions and the Banjul area, Greater Banjul area, will bring those villages and towns back to life. You do that, you reduce the urban-rural drift. You reduce that. You reduce congestion in Banjul. You reduce the crime rate. You reduce the temptation for those people who are living the urban-rural areas for the urban areas and who don't have a job. The temptation to go the back way and go to Europe is extremely high. But if they can stay in those places and live there happily with their families and make a good living, they will stay, and the temptation of going to Europe by the back way is going to be less. And if we develop agriculture, and I'll finish on that, if you develop agriculture properly, anybody who is serious in agriculture will make so much money that they don't need to travel again. Farmers do not have to be poor. If we get proper equipment in place, because I say people don't go back to farming if they're going to go use the hoe, they're not going to go back. But if you bring for them tractors, power tillers, planters, combine harvesters, etc., and let them produce large quantities of their crops, be it groundnuts, be it millet, be it findi, be it cotton, rice, whatever, they will produce them in large quantities and they will sell them in the local communities and in the country, and the surplus will be processed here and exported. So we'll have processing industries all along the country. So we'll create jobs. We will maintain people in their communities. We will grow wealth for them. And that will make sure that our country becomes vibrant again. You see, if you take rice production, Kaur was very famous for its rice, because from Kaur all the way to Balangar, all of that area were rice fields.
Yeah, most of the women were engaged in that, really.
Exactly. So if you take 1 hectare of land, of farmland for rice,
right,
and you grow improved seeds like Nerika, you can harvest anywhere from 8 to 10 tons of rice per hectare. Currently, the yield currently is about 1 to 3 tons per hectare. And that's awfully inadequate. We can have 8 to 10 tons of rice per hectare. And we can farm all year round, not just in the rainy season. We are blessed with a river with fresh water. Of course, the salt water is going up now all the way to Kaur. It used to stop at Balingo, the brackish water, but we can recede that again. And we can have farming year round. And we harvest 3-4 times in the year. So anybody who cultivates just 1 hectare of rice and gets 10 tons of rice, that is, even if you sell it by 100 for $1,000 per bag, because the ton is 20 bags. or 50 kilos. So even assuming you sell that for $1,000, currently it's over 2,000. But even assuming you sell it for $1,000, 10 tons of rice will net you $200,000. So if you do that 3 times a year, you are $600,000 and above.
Mm-hmm.
If you do more than 1 hectare, you are wealthy. And these are possibilities. We import $200 million of rice and oil every year.
Mm-hmm.
That will stay in the country through import substitution. We won't need that to import rice and oil anymore. We can produce the oil from our groundnuts. We can produce the rice locally, and we sell the surplus abroad, process it and sell it. So the people in the farming sector will make a lot of money. The government will have a lot more taxes. More people will pay taxes. The tax base will be widened. So the country will gain money from that. These are possibilities we see everywhere, where people are really serious about agriculture. Mm-hmm. And the farmers are making money. So we can do that for rice. We can do it for millet. We can do it for findi. We can do it for cotton. And we set up cotton industries. Gradually, we had a ginnery in Basse. We can go beyond the ginnery and go towards preparing factories to produce cloth in the country. They did it in Burkina at a very low cost, and other countries in the Côte d'Ivoire and the like.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we're gonna get into more details as far as the economy and what UDP actually have in place. And these are all nice, but then at the end of the day is, where is the money gonna come from? But I'm gonna allow my good friend Sarian to and then we will come back. Sarian.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dr. Manneh. Dr. Manneh, you've highlighted your motivation to get into politics, and I listened to you carefully. And leaders must articulate not only the goal, but also its significance, priority, and alignment with overreaching strategy for a long-term objectives, and understanding the challenges Gambia faces. And I think you kind of give a snippet of what your vision, or the party that you align to, their vision will be slightly different from the status quo. Working with that theme in mind, with the operating system, we designate accountability based on key performance indexes and holding people or creating a cadence towards those to ensure that we track progress. Based on what you discussed just now, what would it be differently in terms of funding, in terms of building a solid mechanism to ensure that those objectives are achieved in the short term and long term?
Very good. And I'm really happy for that, because this is one area where we should always put emphasis, because it's not good enough just to talk about those objectives and what I will do, but where will you get the money from to do those programs? That's extremely important. When you take currently our budget, this year, we have $1 billion. Okay.
Yeah, can you repeat that?
Yes, I said currently this year, our budget is slightly over 40 billion, about $41 billion for the budget. We, to the Maputo Agreement, where we say we'll put at least 10% of our money where our mouth is. Which would have meant that this year we would have put not a poultry, not a poultry $800 million. we would put $4.1 billion in agriculture to start with for this year from the budget alone. We would make budgets, because I'm talking first from the internal point of view. We make budget savings in so many different ministries. Right now, we spend $1.7 billion on the foreign service. We do not need to spend $1.7 billion on the foreign service because it is not productive and we do not need so many embassies. We can streamline those embassies and produce and put less in foreign service. We can put $800, $900 million in foreign service and still have a very good foreign service. So I would slash the foreign service budget by at least half. So that would free up $800 to $900 million for the other sectors of the economy. The Ministry of Finance this year is allocated $2.05 to $2 billion and $50 million to the Ministry of Finance. Why? Why do we have to give so much money to the Ministry of Finance? What are they doing so special that they deserve that much money? It's misplaced priorities. So a lot of money, a lot of it goes into traveling, into per diems, into vehicles, into conferences, into all sorts of wrong things. We do not need to give $2 billion and $50 million to the Ministry of Finance. We do not need to have such a huge budget for travel. The travel budget this year is over $280 million. So many of these conferences can be held virtually. We do not have to travel to every conference because we want to make money for the civil servants. It's important to be a part of the international community, but some of those things we can do virtually. Some of them we can do through our embassies.
Mm-hmm.
We do not need to travel to all of those, so we can make cost savings in all of those areas. Okay, we can make cost savings in the vehicle policy. We are spending a fortune on vehicles. Every official in this country wants a four-wheel drive V6, V8 engines with huge amounts of money going into petrol and all of that. So all of these are areas of wastages, fatty areas where we can make those areas much more lean and much more effective. So we can have cost savings in so many different ministries and structures and parastatals and the like. We are having all sorts of boards for all sorts of things. So there are so many things we are doing which are simply unnecessary. So we can cut a lot of expenditure which we allocate to priority sectors. And those for me include agriculture, education, and health, followed by utilities. These are areas where we need investment. When you have that amount of money available just from internal savings on the budget, you can use that money to leverage in additional resources from abroad. Because any of these donors you go to with a very well-designed and bankable project, and you have your own equity contribution, because everybody wants to see, are you going to put your own money here? If you put your own money there, it means you're serious about it. So when you have a good bankable project in the agricultural sector and you put your part of your own money into that, you go to see the donor community, you will get additional funding to implement those projects. And you will have to sign performance contracts with most of the structures in the country to make sure that there is delivery on those projects. I mean, from the time I was going to high school, we had all sorts of agricultural projects in this country to date. And we have nothing, absolutely nothing to show for it. So all the money goes into what? Administrative expenditure, per diems, vehicles, fuel, travel? No. Those should be minimal. So you sign performance contracts with all of those people to deliver, which you monitor on a monthly and quarterly basis to make sure that everybody is delivering. People do it everywhere. We can do it if we have determination to do it. So when you bring in that amount of seriousness into your work, you can raise funding. And once you start achieving results, everybody comes in because everybody wants part of success. You can criticize Rwanda for its human rights records and whatever, but when they started delivering because they were achieving their targets and objectives, everybody wants to be part of Rwanda's success story. Everybody wants to come in and finance. We did projects with Rwanda. We could raise funding just overnight because people saw the seriousness. Rwanda never defaulted on the implementation period of its projects. We designed a project, we're supposed to implement it over 12 months. It will be implemented over 10 or 11 months, but maximum within 12 months it will be done. So there were no time overruns, there were no cost overruns, and results were achieved. So people saw them as serious and they put money in there. Another example, this country is debt distressed right now. We carry so much debt that there is no way we're going to be able to pay that back on time within the prescribed period. So we will have to do again what was done in 2017, 2018, go on a round table, get some debt relief, and bring in new funding to the country. That is inevitable because we are, as at end of September, we owed $110 billion. And since then, we have had so many loans coming in from different sectors, including the recent $100 million which was signed with the World Bank IMF, $100 million. So currently our debt stands at about 116 billion. And if the dollar continues to slide, that debt is going to get worse. Fortunately for the moment, they have stabilized the dollar. So that is under control. I hope it lasts. But we are currently owing about 116, 117, anywhere from 115 to 117 billion dollars. We won't be able to pay for that. So we'll have to get some debt relief. We'll have to get some debt forgiveness. We'll have to get in additional new funding to do the projects. In 2017, 2018, we got $1.7 billion. And we lost it. When the government started going rogue, the donors withheld the money. We didn't get it. We got just about 360 million out of the 1.7 billion. So we lost all of that opportunity. But we can start again and do something different. And when we see seriousness, they will come in. So you raise additional funding abroad. You do additional discussions with your donor agencies to relieve the debt on the country. And then we go back to investing in these key sectors of the economy. Because currently the real economy in this country is dead. It's just the formal economy that's going around. And we cannot continue doing that. There is no industry in this country anymore. All the industries are dead. Yet we can bring back industries if we give priority to the agricultural sector. And it's extremely urgent to do that because as we talk today, Senegal's new government is ramping up for development. And if they start developing so much faster than us, it will kill all prospects of economic development and industrial development in this country. And the key point there, for example, electricity, which is one of the main sectors in any country's industrial expenditure. Electricity is going to drop because it's going to drop significantly in Senegal. And that will make them far more competitive than us. So who will come and invest in the Gambia when the costs are so high compared to Senegal? Currently, the kilowatt hour of electricity in Senegal is 153 CFA. And with the developments in Saint Louis and Kayar for gas, just for gas, by the end of this year, electricity prices are supposed to drop to about 23, from 153 to about 23 CFA francs per kilowatt hour. That is an 80% reduction in electricity costs. That will make their industries very competitive. And if you don't move, our industrial development process will be seriously compromised. So we have to do something, and urgently. We have to start planning for the short, medium, and long term very quickly to do something. We are in serious trouble.
Thank you, Dr. Manneh. Thank you for that
Maybe just to conclude
brilliant.
on that area. Okay.
No, go ahead.
If you just allow me, I just want to add just one point. We have discovered oil in the country, offshore. And that has been there for years now, and we haven't heard anything about that oil. What is happening? FAR signed a contract, and they are supposed to be extracting that oil. And nothing is being done, nothing is being said. The government isn't saying anything about it. We don't know what is happening there. But if that also takes off, there's another huge potential that we can use for this country. Currently, Senegal is producing 100,000 barrels of oil per day. And in Kayar, it is producing 14 million metric cubes of gas per day. Around St. Louis is over 20 million metric cubes of gas per day. So these are serious amounts of money coming into Senegal. And it's got a serious government now in place, and less corruption. So the economy is going to take off big time. And if you don't do anything, we'll become irrelevant. Because now we have African Continental Free Trade Area. They can sell anything into the Gambia using the AFCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and we can stop them. What that is what ECOWAS market.
Is he frozen or is he done?
I think so. Dr. Manneh, are you there?
I think it's on again. It just goes and comes,
Yeah. The internet is not
Can you hear me?
cooperating, so I guess maybe what we need to do is we'll just keep the answers a little bit short, because most of the things we're going to be asking a whole lot of issues, so that we can get to all the questions.
Okay. All right.
And the internet is not really cooperating very well. Go ahead, my man, Sariam.
Dr. Manneh, thank you very much. And you highlighted a key sector here, which is the energy sector. And we obviously knew that NAWEC is a liability to the government rather than an asset. They're not able to pay their debt obligations, and past months, they had to put a waiver for them to relieve them of those debt obligations. Now, understanding and explaining how Senegal is moving fast in terms of rolling out a rigid energy infrastructure. What do you think, and what would you do slightly differently, considering the experience and the inoperable structure of NAWEC as it stands? Because organizationally, it's under one managing director. NAWEC is responsible for electricity and delivering water. In Western world, these are two different entities and they're different structures. I mean, the other organization structure is the transmission, power, and energy. They are all under one person. And I think in terms of efficient delivery, they need to look at those structures. But what would you have done differently, considering our next door neighbors are rolling this out? And as you rightfully said, it's going to impact. People don't want to invest in a country when they're going to have to pay a huge overhead cost in terms of energy, right? So what would be your policy, or at least some of the goals to offset or take a different direction in terms of putting Gambia on a robust energy tracking?
Okay, for NAWEC, for example, yes, I think I would still go for one managing director for the two, water and electricity, but put two strong directorates under that managing director, one for electricity and one for water. And on the electricity, I would put a sub-director or a manager in charge of generation and another for transmission and distribution to make sure that everybody has a key and well-defined role. And then you put in place well-defined job descriptions for each of those people, terms of reference for each of the managers and the people working in that institution. And you sign performance contracts with all of them. The managing director, the different directors, the managers, everyone will sign a performance contract. If you don't deliver, you will be given a period of time in which to make up for your delays. And if you need training, if you need assistance, that will be given to you. But if in spite of all of that you cannot perform, you will be replaced. Because we just cannot keep dead wood in these institutions and hope they will work. You say the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if it's not working, let's look for a way to make this work. And that way, for me, is not privatizing it, where we lose money after spending so much setting up these structures. We can make them work and pay dividends to the country. So you put in place a well-defined, clear management structure, and you put in place well-defined terms of reference for all the key members of those teams. And everyone will be in charge of those working under you. You will hold them accountable for what they do. So everybody will have to perform, and you have workflows and everything. So you see no work will be stuck in any area because you will see it on the workflow. On the workflow with computers, it's easy to see where the work is stuck. So you will see who is dragging his or her feet, and you call them to order and make everybody perform. We have cases now, they talk of people getting upset and just destroying some of the things in the transmitters, etc. They call it sabotage, etc. If you have those well-defined structures, you have the performance contracts, you have the terms of reference, nobody will do that or dare to do, because you will be gone. You will be history. And it's got to be, some will call it ruthless, no, but it's got to be stringent management. You are paid to do a job, you do it. This maslaha syndrome we have in the country, that should go. People are paid to do a job, they're supposed to do that job. If they cannot do it, you relieve them of the duties and give it to somebody else. It's as simple as that. If we do that, we'll have the results. We cannot just continue carrying dead wood and hoping that they will change. They change or they go. If you do that, you will bring back efficiency into NAWEC. Also, you need to modernize some of the infrastructure. Currently, NAWEC is losing about 25 to 28% of its generation through transmission and distribution losses, because the infrastructure is old. The infrastructure is not adapted. So if you lose a quarter of your generation through just transmission and distribution losses, you are a liability. But money has been pumped into NAWEC for decades now. Why has all that not been done? That needs to be done. We are still using heavy fuel oil for generation. We should move away from that. We can have all of those turbines with a simple adjustment. You can put gas turbines on them and they will use gas. It's much more efficient, it's clean, and you'll cut down your costs, particularly if we can produce our own oil and gas here. We should invest also in clean energies. We have sunlight 24/7 all the time. Invest more in solar energy. If you have good solar energy projects, the funding is available everywhere because everybody wants to support clean energy projects. So you do clean energy, you do solar power, you do wind power, and you can even go to hydropower. So we can do all of that and enhance our energy production.
Thank you, Mr. Manneh.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Manneh, listening to your answer to Sarian's question about how do we fund some of these things, you mentioned the embassies that we have, too many of them, and the amount of money that we spend on them. And then, but people may ask, but Mr. Manneh, your party leader and Secretary General oversaw the biggest expansion of embassies during his time. And Mr. Amadou Sane, who is the treasurer, possibly the next finance minister, we saw him table a budget where there was allocation for the office of the First Lady, which he vigorously defended, which many people thought was a waste. What would be the difference this time in a UDP government that we will not see a repeat of what had happened in expanding embassies all over the country in the world? Of course, beefing it up with a lot of new employees, other stuff, and allocations of to offices of the First Lady. What has changed? Why should we believe that there would be change in the UDP government from what we saw from 2017 in regards to these two areas?
Very good, very good. 2017, 2018, we were coming out of a 20-year dictatorship. And we had lost contacts with so many countries and institutions around the world. We had to go on a diplomatic offensive to put the Gambia back on track and put it back on the diplomatic community. But so many embassies probably were not necessary. But we did create them. Maybe in the enthusiasm to create another vibrant return to the international community, maybe we overdid it. But we can still streamline because that mistakes are made. But if you do admit that you made a mistake and you accept that and you come back on it and you rectify, you can make a difference. These things, you don't just get up overnight and do, but you just study and see where you need to make differences, where you need to streamline, where you need to cut back, which are the embassies which are performing and which are not. Where can we cut back on our expenditure? Where can we merge certain embassies? We can do that, and we need to do it. Too many embassies have been created, and we need to come back on that. We need to be bold enough to say, yes, we messed up here and there, and we're going to change that. So you change that, and you come back on that. The office of the First Lady, if you do it with sanity, it can be useful because currently all over the continent, it has become an institution everywhere. So you have even an association of First Ladies where they meet and they do a lot of social work. So either you do that or you create a budget line which is going to be funding it. So we need to put something in there to avoid the president taking money from his office and giving to the First Lady to run some of those institutions. So there is a certain amount of sanity that should be put into that. But it shouldn't be a liability. It shouldn't be a huge area of expenditure. And we should be careful to avoid conflict of interest. Because if the First Lady, like we see recently, where she went into a fundraising and a Nigerian gentleman came in and paid and pledged $1 million. For me, that raises a red flag. There's no free lunch. If that guy is giving $1 million, what is he expecting in return? We did see here some Chinese outfit which gave the $33 or $35 million that got to her $700-something thousand to the First Lady. And that gentleman got a contract with NAWEC. Afterwards, is this gentleman who is said to be in oil exploration. I hope you don't find him in our oil fields. So you have to avoid those conflicts of interest. Yes, and that's a possibility. So why is he giving $1 million? What is he? Because it's not giving. It's not just for philanthropy. There are enough philanthropic causes in Nigeria. If he's coming here and putting that here, he's looking for something. So we need to know what that is. So, and as I said, I hope we don't find him in our oil fields. So we've got to be careful about these things. So we need to avoid creating unnecessary expenditures and creating conflict of interest. The First Lady is not an institution in the country. If you're going to create an institution, we need to make sure that we put for it minimum funding, not become a liability for the whole country. And if they're going to go into fundraising, to do it differently. So as you said, I just keep that answer short.
Yeah. No, that's good. The other question that I wanted to ask, listening to you here, salivate about the past, talking about that place called Kawur and how vibrant it was, and how all these things have died. We've had now 3 successive governments, if you want to call it that, in the Gambia.
And again,
The poverty of people have continued unabated. You said that farmers do not have to be poor.
yes,
In the United States here and other countries, the richest people are the farmers. They have money.
yeah,
In the Gambia, it is not the same. Most people, as we were talking, I was sitting here, I was thinking about counting to myself the various leaders that we have. Presidents, we all know where they came from. The first vice president, Ibi Njai, maybe the closest to have come from Banjul. Chances are he hailed from the provinces.
yes,
This Rivers was the first vice president from Badibu. Asad Musa
yes,
Kamara from Basse, Kantora area.
yes,
You talk about even Edward Sinyate, possibly from
yes,
his parents are from Badibu or wherever. Sana Sabali
yes,
from the
yes,
provinces. So the list goes on. Usenu Dabo from Dobo. The list goes on. Everybody who has led our country came almost from the provinces.
yes,
Ministers, the majority from the provinces. What is the problem? Because I am of the belief that it's not about policies anymore. It's about patriotism and loving. Where do we go wrong? What do you think is the reason for our parents who bore us through farming, who did everything for us so that we can gain the education that we gain, so that we will be able to salvage our country, continue to wallow in poverty, and once we are appointed into office, we live the light life and forget where we came from? What would it take for a turnaround to happen, where the focus would be how do we develop our people and our communities rather than how we develop ourselves? I don't know whether I've been struggling with this, and I ask this question to everybody who comes here, and I've
yes.
not been able to get the answer that I believe we need to be able to salvage our country and our people.
No, I absolutely agree with you. People have come from modest backgrounds, they have come from the provinces, they've come from poor communities, but as soon as they get into office, they want to cut themselves off from those backgrounds. Some are even ashamed to say that they are from rural communities or from poor backgrounds. And if anything, I think that makes you greater. As Kwame Nkrumah once put it, it's not the depth from which a man comes that's important, but the heights to which he or she rises. So you can come from a poor background and you rise to prominence. You rise to prominence, rather. When you get there, make sure you believe and understand what the people were feeling when you were there, and that this is same problems out there. And now you are entrusted with the responsibility to make life better and easier for those people. So you must take that responsibility seriously. But if you cut yourself away from that background of yours and you start enjoying the good life and then forget about that, and you surround yourself with people who are just going to sing your praises and tell you how good you are and everything, you are bound to make mistakes. I told some guy not long ago, when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me, I can. You know, as a kid, I didn't understand. I used to get angry when she said that. I was maybe 6 years or so, and like grandmothers and kids, we would fight about it, and she would laugh, etc. When I was about 8, 9, she sat me down and said, when I say this to you, you fight, you don't understand, and I laugh at you. Say, but do you know why? I said, no, I just don't like you telling me that. If you can't pray for me, don't curse me. And she said, if you have somebody who will tell you, yeah, I can, no mistake. There's no mistake, do for yaga. He will have enough love for you and enough respect for you to come to you and tell you, you are wrong. You are going the wrong way, you're heading for the wall, and he will bring you back. Sa gémmiñ xesew na, sa doomi ndeyal ko mun a wax.
Muy dégg it.
So when you have that, when you have people around you who are bold enough to tell you the truth, if you make mistakes, you'll come back. If you start steering away from the poor people of this country who you're supposed to work for, somebody close to you will be able to tell you. But if you cut yourself from those people and you surround yourself with people, sycophants, who are just going to tell you what you want to hear, then that destruction will continue. And that is what we have. Even the government today should be listening to its opposition.
Absolutely.
When we criticize, it's not because we hate Barrow or any people around Barrow. It's we hate what they're doing to our country. If they listen to that, they will amend their policies. They will rectify. They will get it right, and politically, it's good for them. Some people tell you, "Oh, you're giving them too many ideas. When they become too relevant, it is bad for you." I say, "I'm not doing this because we will need to get into power. We're doing this because we need to save this country. If they do it, so much the better for us." We should compete on doing good for this country. So the people managing this country, every single one of them knows that what they are doing is wrong. When you have so much corruption in your ministry, you know it's wrong. You know it. The audit reports come out, you see them. Why don't you do something about it? If you're a minister of agriculture and you see that our farmers cannot sell their groundnuts, you see that our women cannot sell their produce in the markets, and when they don't sell it, they lose them. Surely you should be able to be bold enough to take policies to change that. Even the president should be supporting you for that because it's good for his political track record and his legacy. But we simply cut ourselves off from what reminds us of our past, of the hardship of what we endured to get here. I am a proud son of Kaur. When I went to Kaur, just like Musa said, I wept. I was angry. I saw the Kaur I grew up in and the Kaur it is today. Why did we let these places deteriorate so much? We can change these things around, but it depends on each and every one of us taking the responsibilities. What you are doing here, sensitizing the Gambians on what is going wrong in this country, that will make certain people reflect and change their ways. And I hope it goes all the way to the government. If that happens, we make a difference. But if you say, "Oh, for the Gambia, so for the people, by the people, they are just, talking for themselves," instead, that you won't listen anymore. So your good ideas will be lost on them. We don't agree on everything, and we will not agree on everything because if we do, somebody's a hypocrite. But if we can at least listen to each other and learn from each other, we're going somewhere.
We dig it.
And that's what I always advocate everywhere. The Gambia needs all its sons and daughters. Our contributions, each and every one of us, is vital. But we have to be true to ourselves. We have to open our hearts to the country and its hardships. I think that's what the difference is. And the government should sign performance contracts to make everybody deliver.
We dig it.
Yeah.
You're a wise man from Kaur, but let me let the other Kaurian.
But you know that the Mali is known for that anyway.
Yeah. Dafa melni ma mom dañ bokk jabar bokkuñ jakka bokkuñ dara. So Dr. Manneh, you said something.
Yes.
That kind of anytime I plan for a question, you said something that I have to maybe come back to that. You said when you criticize, the government should basically, take it and they can make a lot out of it.
Yes.
But then there is a question of how you criticize. People do say that Dr. Manneh is an asset. Anybody who listens to you, he knows what he's talking about. But Dr. Manneh has become very political, that this government hasn't done anything right. He would basically cherry pick and then go after whatever the government does. And I'm going to give you an example. If anybody lived in Gambia for the past 20 years, you would know that our democracy, the political climate, has transformed. Gambia is a totally different country.
Yes.
I'm not saying that it's the government that creates it, but at least we're living under that government.
Yes.
When you listen to Dr. Manneh, you think we're worse off. People would say Gambia is a failed state. Come back to, you work at the ADB. You mentioned that you know Africa 50. Africa 50, basically, and there was this talk about asset recycling. Dr. Manneh from ADB, and people believe that this is the kind of thing that a UDP government would do, because we're tired of government and government and government. But because it's coming from the other end, Dr. Manneh said, we're mortgaging our country. We are selling it to foreigners. People listen to you, they say, the guy is being political. What say you to that?
Very good. Very good. You see, I just said now that I praise the central bank for stabilizing the dollar. Because if the dollar stabilizes, our debt stabilizes. And that is something which I really think they did a great job of, and I hope they continue doing that. But what doesn't work is what we should criticize to make it happen. We are not here to sing the government's praises. We are here to talk about what is not going right so that we change those things. When I talk of asset recycling, but before asset recycling, the democracy in the country and the freedom of expression and all is extremely important. But the Gambians fought for that. We must remember that. We fought for that and we seized it. And we must fight to keep it. Any government would want to roll back your freedoms and everything because they want control. We have to keep fighting to keep that. When you hear today, Barrow saying to his people, if people talk to you, fight back. You are the government. You go out and fight. And he's talking of physical fight. That is unfortunate from a leader. That is not the sort of. So if you don't fight back to maintain, they will roll it back.
Musa, is your question that
at these liberties, we will fight back and we will criticize them. Sorry?
No, go ahead. I was saying that Musa Jeng was jinxing the internet, but go ahead, sir.
Internet was not.
Yeah, we will fight. Now, Africa 50.
Yes.
I was part of the people who set up Africa 50. Set note of Africa 50 and helped set it up. Can you hear me? Okay. Africa 50 is supposed to help. Is supposed to help in infrastructure development. As an additional window of the ADB, we have the African Development Fund, which is the concessional window, African Development Bank, the private sector. Africa 50 is supposed to be an additional window, more in the private sector kind of area, to help develop infrastructure. The ADB built that bridge for the Gambia for free because it's part of the Trans-Africa Road Infrastructure Network. When you have an asset like that, you work with it, you maintain it, you improve it. You do not recycle it. When you recycle it, we recycle it for what? For $100 million. And by the minister's own pronouncement at the time, we were netting about $1 million a month on that bridge. So for 25 years, that is 300 million potential. But we mortgage it for 1/3 of that price. And what is the argument? We're going to use that money to create additional infrastructure. And that's not happening. And I told him it will not happen. Because this country is debt distressed. The government is struggling every month to pay salaries. the government is all sorts of financial difficulties. So if the money comes in, it's going to be used for administrative expenditure, not capital expenditure to create additional infrastructure. That is definite. And I told them, if you're going to do that, what you do is you set up what is called a special purpose vehicle. You set up like a separate account. You set that up, and Parliament has to approve that, just like Parliament has to approve the loan. Once you set that up, you put the funding in there, and you use it for this infrastructure, because this is revenue for the state, and government cannot use revenue without authorization from Parliament. So I said, you're supposed to do that and use it for infrastructure, but you have to set that up before. So when the money comes, it goes into that. And before the money comes, you develop your infrastructure projects. It's not when you have the money that you start developing the projects. Infrastructure projects take time to develop. So you start developing them before you get the money. So when the money comes, the projects are ready and bankable, and you start working on them. There is not a single project that has been prepared in the infrastructure project to finance from Africa 50 funding. Not one. The special purpose vehicle has not been set up. When I had a debate with Sila, he was saying, oh, we have an SPV with Africa 50. I said, you don't understand what you're talking about. We cannot have an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, with Africa 50. Africa 50 doesn't go to our parliament. So we have a common account with them for the bridge, and we don't even sit on the committee that's going to manage the bridge. They're going to manage it and give us what they say they've got from the bridge. So it's 25 years, or if it's paid before, it will never be paid before. We know how these things happen. So we are losing money on that bridge. And I'm saying we should not be losing all that money on the bridge. We should not have given that to another entity outside the continent that is going to be making the profits we should be making from the bridge. We are shooting ourselves in the foot. That's why I criticized it, and I continue to criticize it. And I told them at the time, when you are through with Africa 50, you're going to sell our other assets. Why? Because you need the money, and you don't have it. So it's political expediency, or in this case, economic expediency. You need money quick, let's sell an asset. Another one, let's sell another asset. When you finish selling the assets, what do? And these assets are supposed to provide money for the country, supposed to pay dividends to the state.
Yeah, but Dr. Manneh, these institutions, since the inception, they haven't paid dividends. These institutions, you have corruption all over them. So basically, I'm thinking, if these institutions are not working, or even you are talking about the bridge, and you're saying if we were to manage it ourselves, you're looking at $300 million. But knowing our history, knowing how corruption is endemic in the country, the culture of corruption, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe trying this PPP is the best way to go, because government, based on our experience, they have not been able to deliver. What say you to that?
You see, I'm not against PPP. I'm all for private sector development in the country. You create the enabling environment for private sector and allow it to develop and make money. But you do not sell off what we spent so many years developing and put so much money into it. You sell it to the private sector to make all the profits that we should be making for the state. When you have the private sector and you want to develop something, for example, you want to build another bridge, you bring in the private sector, preferably the Gambian private sector. You work with them and bring in additional funding from outside if necessary. You build another bridge with the private sector and you have a PPP for that. The private sector will make money out of it. The government will make some money out of it. Our development partners will make some money out of it. But what we already have, which is potentially income generating, you do not sell that off. You just make it work better. You manage it. They're trying to sell Gamcell, for example. Why would anybody buy Gamcell if it's not going to make money? Why would Africa 50 put money in the bridge if it's not going to make money? It's because they are potential income generators. That's why they are. So the problem is the corruption and the mismanagement. And we do have a lot of competent Gambians inside the country and in the diaspora. You bring them in to manage this and you make sure that you end impunity. When people embezzle the funds and the president tells you our audit reports are on opinion, of course the corruption will continue.
Absolutely.
But if embezzlements do take place and you fight it, you stop it, the management will improve. I talked about Rwanda. Rwanda was the same thing. They were losing money all over the place. When Kagame came and put in very stringent measures, and that you are involved in corruption, you're going to jail, and you're going to pay back the money. All of the public utilities and other SOEs in Rwanda are making money. That happens in Botswana. It was happening in South Africa until the state capture happened, etc., etc. We have very competent Gambians in the country and in the diaspora who we can bring in to manage these resources and make these sectors work. And we all will be better off for it. Why don't we do that? And we bring in the private sector in other areas where we can do PPPs with them. There are a lot of development needs in this country. We can bring in the private sector for that and make them work with the government to create PPPs and do things that are going to generate money. But again, even for that, we do not have a PPP legislation. So if we do that, we're going to do it just haphazardly. We need to do things systematically and objectively and scientifically. OIC, for example, they work very hard to put in, when we had the Lamin, the Nyangjais and all of those people, they work very hard to get government to pass local content legislation so that we can bring in our private sector to work with the contractors in this area. We will transfer knowledge, we will transfer know-how, we will transfer resources to the country, and we will get these people ready in time. When there's another contract in the country, they're ready to take it up as Gambians and implement it because they would have had experience. But the government refused to submit a bill for private, for the local content legislation. So we do not have local content legislation. What we're doing it, almost illegally. So you put in place that soft infrastructure, the regulations, the legislation that you need to do this. Once you have that in place, put in place the proper management structures and principles. In some of these areas, you give the people incentives. When you go to Senegal here next door, there are people in tax collection. They have dividends from what they collect. The people in the utilities, they have certain dividends for performance. So you've got to bring in that amount of incentivization into some of those sectors. So NAWEG, you give them a percentage of the returns if they make profits. So you make profits, NAWEG, GAMCEL, airport, you get 5% or whatever, just 5%, just a figure like that. You get some X percentage of the income, of the revenue, profits in that area will be shared between you as dividends. So that way you get them to perform. You get them to perform and get them to do the things that are required. So you do that, and you make a difference in the management of these structures. If you don't do that, you continue with the same poor management structures, and you continue with the same poor habits, and you continue with the same corruption. And that is what is, yet we can do these things differently because we have people in this country, in the diaspora, who can perform, who can do these things and do them differently and do them very well. Let's do that. You see, sometimes we are just content with mediocrity, and we should not. We should fight that. We should be able to put our, our ambitions way beyond what we have now. So we can do these things, and we need to do them. So that is where the difference lies. If we do that, we bring in the proper people to manage these structures, we will make money from them. We have, for example, here, a bank which is partly Gambian owned, Trust Bank, not to make publicity for anybody. It is run by Gambians, and they have dividends being paid to the workers, and they are making money. They are making money for the country, and they are paying dividends to the state, and the staff are being incentivized. Why can't we do that for other structures? That we incentivize them and we make them they make money, and the country makes money, and we have therefore it's replicated in other sectors of the economy. So people will make money and be happy to perform better because they will get part of that, the revenue they create, they will get a certain percentage. That is incentives for those people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Manneh. Dr. Manneh,
We can do activity.
is he talking to me?
No. Are you still there, Dr. Manneh?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Manneh. Dr. Manneh,
Yes,
as
I'm
I
here.
listen, as I listen to you, I reflect on all the challenges and a country that has about 2 billion population for 59 coming to 59 years. We struggle with basic amenities, and not because that we do not have folks outside who has the necessary requirements or who has the necessary experience to put our country forward. Thinking about different countries, Rwanda, a lot of Gambians are doing phenomenal things. Kenya, the former MD of NAWEC, is spearheading their energy infrastructure.
Exactly.
But one thing that I came to realize is the leaders that we select in Gambia are compromised. And the reason why I said we're compromised is you highlighted a lot of issues. The one elephant in the room is corruption.
Yes.
But I think that stems from the leaders that we elect into that office and the tone they set in terms of how they conduct themselves and how they hold people accountable under their supervision.
Yes.
So, and I think it's about time that we had a good discussion on this, because the fact of the matter is we have a leadership problem. With all the resources that is pumping into that country, it's about time we have someone who is aware, who is willing to learn the lackadaisical nature of the character that this office, the highest office of our land, someone who thinks that somehow they need to come there to enrich themselves rather than delivering basic services to the population and taking care of the day-to-day delivery. And in a high level, what is your take in terms of this compromised leadership? And if I say control, it takes ethical standards to do what is right, even if people are not looking or people are not watching you. We lack that. What we see is self-enrichment over and over and over and over. Someone who came into the office, don't have squat, but bluffing and saying that he has 270 million within 7 years.
Yes.
How do we change that dynamic? How do we hold our leaders accountable from when they are vying for office throughout their transition in office?
I think that starts with us Gambians. We have to be demanding. We have to stop being too compromising. We have to stop being, too careful. This, as I said before, this maslahat business. We have to put an end to that. We have to start demanding, results from the people who hold office. We have to hold their feet to the fire. I just can't understand how somebody, as you said, who comes to an office without even owning a proper car himself, within 5 years, knowing the salaries we have in the Gambia, that guy builds a $5-10 million mansion and many more than that, and buys property outside this country, and etc., and is living it up big, and is even arrogant about that. And we accept that as Gambians. We have to call it out. We have to talk about it. Excuse me. This is why people are saying, oh, no, I don't want to go into politics, it's dirty. Yes, there's been a lot of dirty people in politics, but we've got to sanitize the system. We've got to bring in people. All of us have to come in one way or another and change it, or it will not change. The people who are enjoying those undue benefits do not have any incentive to change unless we force them to change. A president who comes to office and a few years afterwards tells me, I have $250, $270 million in my account, and his annual salary is $6 million plus benefits. How do you save $200 million? Immediately, there should have been an inquiry immediately by Parliament at that level to say, you explain to us how you got that money. Because that, for me, raises a red flag. It points to corruption. And that is the amount of money he said he had in his account. But he built a mansion in Mankamangkunda. He built other things elsewhere. Where is that money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
His ministers, who are building mansions all over the place, and any other official in this country, we need to ask them questions. If we don't, they continue because they have no incentive to change. We should not make it as if that is the normal thing. I'm going to, chill, no, we don't have to balk in it. We have to fight it, So, no, I hear that I couldn't go in there. No. Nguur ñun lay liggéeyal ñun ñoo leen fal buñ deful lu ñu war ñu folli leen and we bring sanity and honesty into the system. You see, when you set examples, people change. If somebody does the wrong thing and you call him to book and you apply the full force of the law, other people will hesitate to do it. If you don't, impunity sets in and everybody says, oh, I can do it. ABC did it, no problem, I can do it too. And the thing just snowballs out of control. And you end up with state capture. And then after the state capture, what happens is the failure of the state. Currently, we are in a very difficult economic situation in this country. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon unless we change. Because if that, look, you just said that some time ago, I say everything is going wrong in this country because most things are going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You take any sector, the corruption is endemic. You take any sector, the underperformance is endemic. The maladministration is endemic. And yet we have some very good, young, talented Gambians in those ministries and in those state institutions sitting there. But they are being prevented from performing because their management is not comfortable seeing young, brilliant guys who want to achieve something for the country and being independent. So they just put them in the cupboards. Or sometimes, as the French put it so nicely, a lateral ascensional kick. You bothering me, I promote you and put you in another place where you won't perform. You are an assistant secretary of state. I put you senior assistant secretary and send you to a ministry where you'll be totally demotivated and frustrated. I promote you, but I get you out of the way. So we've got to fight these things, and it's us Gambians, everyone in his or her own capacity. We have to call it out. We have to be bold enough to challenge the government and make it change. You see, Gamtel was paying the salaries of the civil service. That's how much money they were making for this country. When QCell is performing, AfriCell is performing, Common is coming back, why is GAMCell failing? Management and the government's interventions. Yep. You see, they don't even allow them to borrow money to invest. Yet they have taken away from them what they should use to get money. They've lost the gateway to the president's office. Now they're taking gum fiber away from them. How do they make money? If you go to the airport, Gambia International Airways was making us money. You take it, you give their service to Nero out of nowhere. So what do? You kill our institutions slowly. The ferry services are failing. Why should they be failing? The minister told us they make $24 million a month. Why do they fail? Why? We should have been on top of our maintenance schedules. We should have been programming to buy new ferries to replace them over time. All of these are things that you do when you do these things scientifically, methodically, and you do them in a way that is sane management of our resources. But if all you care about is enriching yourself, and the whole of the rest of the country can just go to wherever, it won't happen. But yet we have some very talented people here. All of these Gambians who leave the country and go outside, they all succeed because they have the talent. But when they are here, they are straddled by poor management. You talked about the guy who was in NAVEC, Fatajo. We recruited him at the ADB. We took him to Nairobi. He's now chief power engineer with ADB, supervising almost the whole of East Africa and part of Southern Africa. He's doing for them what he could have done for NAVEC here. Why couldn't he do it here? His hands were tied. We had another gentleman, Yahya Kamara, who was the head of financial intelligence. And they were trying to make him do things that he didn't want to do. We recruited him and took him to the ADB. Today he works for the World Bank International Development Agency in the US. And I can give you tens of examples like that. Bachi Balde, same thing. You know, there are so many of them. But when they are here, they are struggled, they leave, they go out, they make a career. ADB, we had over 20 Gambians working there in different capacities, each one doing very well. The same thing in the UN agencies, in the World Bank, etc. People in the diaspora who are not working for those institutions, but who are making a very good living and who are achieving things. And who cannot come back here to invest because they don't trust the structures we have in place. Yet these people have potential in terms of funding, in terms of capacity to come and invest in this country and help us move forward. Any of you guys coming here to work in any of these sectors will make a difference in this country. If you don't want to come, you can't sit where you are and invest some of your resources here. You make money. We create diaspora bonds, for example. You can put some of your money into that, and you will be making money from it. So if you need to help a family member here, you don't have to send money all the time. The profits you make from those diaspora bonds and the like, and the other types of investment you can set up, you have money sitting and waiting for you in the bank. You can do that. But you need a proper structure for that. You need an enabling environment. Otherwise, you won't invest because you're just losing your money. Your hard-earned money, you wouldn't put it here unless you make sure you're going to make money out of it. So these are the reasons why we complain. When you complain, they say, "Oh, they are angry." Yes, we are angry about what is happening to the country.
And we're gonna get more angry here, Dr. Manneh, because I'm about to switch the conversation on you and talking about, you know, Musa mentioned something about earlier, his question about, you know, the environment that we are in, you know, the change that we brought in Gambia.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Manneh, our democratic values are to be recognized, restored, and consolidated.
Mm-hmm.
And we, the Gambians, as you said, rightfully so. This fight was intense. Yahya Jammeh was very, very brutal. He went after people's family. He killed people. People lost their fortunes.
Today is really
Some
bad for the
people
internet.
died. Today, for us to enjoy that democracy, those people are gone. But that is the cost of freedom. And that is the cost of where we need to be today. In recent days and yesterday, for the past 48 months, for the past 48 hours, there's a discussion because the president of the republic put some hate speech out there.
Yes.
We can massage this, we can go in there, we can backtrack, but the audio is out there, and this is not the first time.
Yes.
He said the Nar Boutique.
Exactly.
And he said in Madinka, clearly, the audio is very, very clear. He says, I told them, no matter what, how long it is, this Nar Boutique will be one day occupied by You finish that. And he's also said
yes,
his supporters should not feel scared. They are part of the government.
Yes.
They should not be scared. And if anyone goes in, they should fight back. And he, the president, can't do it alone, but they have his full backing.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Manneh, we should not. This is not politics, but one thing Gambians should not do is resort to that dark days of Yahya Jammeh. We should not allow. We have a slogan, never again. We set up a commission of TRRC because we do not want that anymore.
Yes.
Now, what is your take? I mean, we had this discussion. You can speak Mandinka fluently. We all heard what he said. We've seen one of his ministers wrote to a private media platform saying that, you know, you are out there working for, and I think it's dishonest to the core. Whatever that takes me off, you can speak for your government, but what you cannot do is undo the bad work of your president. You need to prepare your president when he goes on there and face the population on a mandated funding to go speak to the electorates about his development project in more of a campaign style, attacking and attacking. And we need to address this, Dr. Manneh. What do you have to say to such hate mongers, the president who lack capacity, lack the dignity to bring to that office, doesn't want to unify the country, wants to further divide the country under tribal sentiments? And this is not a UDP MPP problem. It is not. Because one thing what we don't want to do is we do not want to further divide that country. It's polarized. We want a president who's going to unite the country, not divide us. Not such divisive rhetoric and attacking and bringing some tribal lines into our political space. And I want to give you opportunity to address this, because I think the answers are gone. But take some time and share your perspective on what you heard and what should be the way path forward, especially for UDP, that we should not associate ourselves on any types of these tribal lines, because it further divides our country, and we need to come together as one people.
Thank you, Saria. And that's what I've been complaining about since the day I had this. If we are in a normal democratic dispensation, the president should be impeached for that. He has sworn to keep this country united and to keep this country together. He has sworn to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the country. And this is totally against the Constitution and the laws of the country. For that alone, he should have been impeached by Parliament. Even if it doesn't go to the end, it doesn't succeed, but he should at least be impeached. I know his people will not vote for the impeachment, but at least impeach him. We had Trump impeached twice. It didn't succeed, but it made a mark. He should have been impeached for that. The president is the guarantor of our national unity, or at least should be. The president should be the one who would say all the right things to get the country back together. And this is the country who sits on this is the president who sits on a political platform, his supporters, and I will name them. We had Ahmad Ba. We had Dembo by force. Come onto the political platforms with him and attack ethnic groups, and they all applaud and laugh about it. We saw this president invite ethnic groups in turn to the president's office, instead of inviting a cross-section of those communities to come together and build bridges between those communities. I'll give you an example which you all, I'm sure, are familiar with living in the US. During the Biden and McCain campaign, a lady came up to McCain. A lady came to McCain and said, Obama, McCain, A lady came up to McCain and said, Obama is a Muslim, is anti-Christian, is this, is that, is evil. And immediately McCain took the microphone from her and said, no, madam, no, madam. He is my opponent. I don't agree with him on a number of issues, but he is a good man. And that put an end to that hate speech on that day and probably in the rest of the campaign. This president is the one who should be saying when people come up with hateful speech. Even Yahya Jammeh, with all of his wrongdoing, did put somebody out of the campaign he was holding and sent her back to the Gambia, to Banjul, because he said the wrong thing at the time. And that's some people saying some of those things, even though he continued himself. So when these sort of things come up, you should be the person to put an end to it. If he were to say for once, just once, no, I don't accept that. I am the guarantor of the unity of this country, and I will not accept that from anybody, it will stop immediately. But if he applauds it, laughs about it, and says it himself, presidential words have consequences. When he says that, you are the people in power. Anybody fight back, fight, and I will support you. Some crazy lunatic somewhere will take that literally and will go and attack other people. He saw his nephews here, who had no official position, arrest Gambians, including Nana Frida Gomez. Arrest them. This thing should never happen. So the president should be the one to unite this country, not to start the hateful rhetoric. We are a very interrelated, intermarried community. In my family, I have almost every ethnic group in this country. My grandfather's brother was married to a Wolof woman. My uncles and aunts are half Mandinka, half Wolof. One of my mother's sisters married a Fuller, and her kids are half Fuller, half Mandinka. My uncle, who is half Fuller, half Mandinka, half Wolof, married a Jola woman. So her kids have Mandinka, Wolof, and Jola blood in them, etc., etc. And it's right across my family. So how can I say anything about any of those ethnic groups? I cannot. And I grew up in Kaur. Kaur was very cosmopolitan. So, and that is the representative of the whole of this country. We are one big family, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So the president should foster that, not drive a wedge between us. The politics is not worth it. Because once you create that division, it just grows, the chasm becomes wider and wider, and we drift further and further apart. And people will find every reason to hate each other. But if we come together and sit together and talk, you see, hate is based on fear. Fear is based on ignorance. And ignorance is based on the fact that we don't talk to each other. If we talk to each other, we live together, we do things together. We are one big family, and I spoke about it. Musa asked me who were my friends growing up in Kaur, and I told him, most of my friends were Wolofs and Fullers. We went to each other's house, wherever the meal fancy, you eat there and you move on. And we were one big family. So, and that is the thing all across this country. When I was in Gambia, I school, the same thing. My friends, most of them were not Mandinka. I didn't have Mandinka friends. I am Mandinka. I have Mandinka friends, etc. But I have them all across the world. The ethnic divide in this country, and that is true for everybody who doesn't want to become a bigot. We all have friends, or at least we should. We know people from all sides. We work together. We develop that. We will never prosper if we start fighting each other and dividing each other. We saw the cases in this country. I was in Cote d'Ivoire, and we had that ethnic and regional divide instilled in that country, and ended up in a civil war, which cost tens of thousands of lives in Cote d'Ivoire, and the country lost so much. The ADB, we had to relocate to Tunisia for 11 years. And the ADB was bringing into Cote d'Ivoire every year minimum 100 billion CFA every year. 100 billion CFA in just our administrative expenditure. It lost that for 11 years. And other institutions alike. They fought and fought to bring us back. Rwanda lost over 800,000 of its citizens to ethnic bigotry. We have it all over the place. We cannot encourage it in our country. So the president will be well advised to steer clear of ethnic hatred, of religious hatred, of regional hatred. He should be the one to bring us together. dafa war a nekk pour mu ñaw dëkk bi together warta nekk lancé du ñu xooti non and
Coach, you got it.
So, Pasama, do you want me to, because a lot of people are watching, to kind of go to the ads and come back? Dr. Manneh, drink some water? Or?
You can do the ads and then we'll just come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Muhawan Nandok Tuti.
Heroes indeed walk amongst us. Every day, individuals accomplishing extraordinary feats. And now, the Photo Network proudly presents live at the Sadara Karaba Jawara Conference Center on Saturday, May 25th, 2024 at 8:30 p.m. the 4th edition of the Heroes Awards, recognizing dedication, sacrifice, innovation, and service. We gather to honor the brightest stars of 2023. From movers and shakers to leaders and shapers, these individuals are making a difference, one giant leap at a time. Join us in celebrating our everyday heroes at the Heroes Awards, honoring inspiring personalities who embody the spirit of selflessness and positive change.
Believe the hype because it's that good. A true kitchen essential. Get Candy Spice products to impress your family and friends with great food, creating flavorful memories. We have pepper sauce, marinades, gourmet spices, barbecue sauces, fruit butter, African snacks, and much more. Every order gets a gift. Yes, you heard that right. Every order gets a gift. Candy Spice, it's handcrafted and all natural. We have options you choose. Order at www.candyspice.com.
Yes, we're right back. Oops, it's Dr. Manneh. Let me bring him back on stage.
You know, Peter Gomez used to say, Lamin, why is it that when the discussion is interesting? Yeah, Peter Gomez used to tell me, why is it that when the discussion is interesting, that's when we lose power? You know, and
it looks
when
like
the discussion is interesting here, we lose the internet.
It looks like
so sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
No, it's okay. Actually, we were running ads, so
okay, good,
yeah.
good.
So we're back.
Yeah, but, yes.
Dr. Manneh.
Yes.
I'll come back to the issue that was just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
But you are the deputy Secretary for External Affairs of the UDP, the United Democratic Party.
Yes. Yes.
How do you talk about how will people in the diaspora do when they go out?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, you've
Can you say that
articulated
again?
here how well Gambians do when they go outside of the country.
Oh, yes.
But they are not saddled with bad leadership or so.
Yes. Yes.
The diasporans, for a very long time, in spite of everything that people claim we do for our country, have been sidelined, disenfranchised. Yesterday, there was a workshop organized by MSTG, Jibril Fay and others, with the Ministry of External Affairs. So we are still crying for that vote.
Yes.
What is the United Democratic Party's position on total diaspora enfranchisement? And when I say that, that includes the right to elect and be elected into any office, irrespective of whether you have dual citizenship or not. What is your party's position on that?
My party's position is that we may have to go back to court to get the Supreme Court reissue its decision and have this enforced. The Supreme Court did say that the diaspora should be allowed to vote. And Ali Njai is on record saying that the diaspora is the 7th region of the country and they will do whatever it takes to make it vote. And we have been talking about this for over a year now. We are 2.5 years from elections. We don't want people to sit until the last minute and tell us, oh no, it's too close, we don't have money, we cannot do this again. There is time to prepare for that. Last week, the Monetary Policy Committee did come out and say that the diaspora for the first quarter of this year has provided $204 million to the Gambian economy. That is the single most important source of foreign exchange in this country. A community that provides so much for the country, why would you want to alienate those people? Why do you want to disenfranchise them? But even if they did not produce 1 cent towards the economy of this country, they are Gambians and they are entitled to vote and be elected. So why do we sit back and allow the IEC to do this? We have taken it up at the inter-party level. And we are pushing for the diaspora to vote. When we started talking about it, some people told us, oh, be careful because there is a huge potential that the government could register large amounts of non-Gambians in Senegal, in Guinea, etc., Guinea-Conakry, and have them vote and affect the results. And I said to myself, many people said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and we will send people out there into those places where the registration is done to represent us, to ensure that non-Gambians do not get registered. But that should not stop us having the diaspora vote because we fear that they might register other people who are not Gambians to vote. No, we address the issue of fraudulent registration, but we do not accept that the diaspora cannot be allowed to vote. Simply because this government thinks that the majority of diasporans are going to vote against it. Well, go out there and do the right things and campaign and do something to win them over. That's what you do. You do not disenfranchise them because you think they might vote against you. You take the right policies that will bring them to your side. That's what you do. The diasporans are Gambian. I lived in the diaspora for the best part of my working life. And I did not vote once. And I hated it. And I continue to hate it. And we must do everything that we can to ensure that we can vote. Technically, this is very simple. It's just a political decision. And if you need to go back to court, if you cannot get the IEC and the inter-party to step up to the plate with us to fight this cause, we'll go back to court. But we have to get the diaspora to vote in 2026. You cannot develop a country by leaving out a significant proportion of your citizens. Just like I say, you cannot develop this country hoping to leave out the women folk and the youth because you're not supporting them, you're not empowering them. They are over 60% of the population. The diaspora is the single biggest source of foreign exchange for this country, and can bring, and that 204 million for the first quarter is the official count. What comes in because Pastor Majau sees somebody coming and say, oh, look, you will not 200 is my auntie, or you will not 200 is my friend. Those things don't get counted. Or you see somebody, you say, look, my brother needs something, can you give him something? I'll send it to you. And you send it to Western, whatever. Those things don't get counted. So if you count the entire amount that is coming, formally and informally, I'm sure we are closer to 400 million per quarter than 200 million. So this is a population you want to ensure they have a stake in this country's future. And we should not only allow them to vote, we should have them represented in parliament. We should have NAMs representing the different sections of the diaspora to be determined. How many should represent North America, Europe, Asia, Africa? Depending on the population, you determine that. But for the US, the amount of people living there, and given the constituency sizes here, you'll be having quite a number of people representing the US, for example, North America. And when you do that, they sit in parliament. Then they will be able to defend the rights of the diaspora. Then they will be able to bring in more sanity into the system. Because you do not expect people coming from the diaspora to be easily bought and influenced like we see with some of our NAMs today. Just like we say, those diasporans who can be here during the election should also come and help with being polling agents or coordinators of polls, because they will not be bought as some of the people are being bought. So we are blessed with that amount of people in the diaspora who have the potential that they have, materially and human resource-wise. Why don't you want to use that? So as far as we are concerned in the UDP, we are fighting for that, and we will continue to fight until we get that the diaspora in their own country.
Now, thank you very much, Dr. Manneh. The other question that I have is coming back to this rhetoric that we have. Most Gambians will tell you that, oh my God, our whole politics has now been reduced to UDP versus NPP. You're always seen to be one. If you are very have a positive thing to say about the Barrow government, you are NPP. If you have something has to say about Barrow, you're UDP. There was a national dialogue that was called for a reason. Because maybe the government felt that, the political temperature was so high, let's bring all the parties to leadership together so that we can have a discussion. But we've seen over and over again.
Oh, sorry about that.
Are you getting me? Yes. We've seen over
yes,
and
I can
over
hear you
again.
now.
Oh, cool. We've seen over and over again constitutionally mandated travel by the president, not NPP sanctioned tours, but constitutionally sanctioned tours. The president can always not help himself into turning it into a diatribe against the UDP. What do you think needs to happen? I've heard you say it here. When you explain why you got into politics, when you explain about the need for the government to listen to its opposition and not see them as enemies. But it looks like, from my vintage point, it's like there is this very nasty rivalry where the president cannot help himself. Any opportunity that he has, to say something
Mm-hmm.
negative
Mm-hmm.
against the UDP. And then, of course, it is up to interpretation. There are people who are interpreting
Yes.
this narrative differently. There are others who believe that,
Yes.
what, it was out of line, it should not have been said. Do you
Yes.
ever see us moving away from this politics of keep papam sindahala yayam golola things, where every opportunity that is had, instead of addressing the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people, we're here haggling about what the president said or should have said, or what somebody said, what he responds to. I don't know how to frame this, but do
Yeah.
you think there is a way where we'll have a politics of decency? Of course, politics is contact sport. If you live in the United States, you deal with Trump. He is running ads calling Biden either dishonest or a man with dementia. That he has no problem. But Trump
Yeah.
is not somebody that you will measure decency.
Yes.
What is
Exactly.
it? What can we do to sanitize our politics? Not to take away the criticisms, but at least where we'll take the work of the people a lot more seriously than just throwing jabs at each other at every given way.
Yes, I think we start with discussing issues and not people. When I criticize, for example, I criticize the wrongdoing in this government. Sometimes we attach it to a person so that, to make them move away from it because we want to hold them accountable. But it's the issues that we should be talking about, not the people. I don't discuss anybody's origin or whatever. It's irrelevant. As I say, it's not where we come from that matters. It's where we get to and where we're trying to take this country. But the president should be the one who should be avoiding driving that wedge between us. Because presidential words matter. When he says this thing about now, the interpretation is inevitable. People will see it in different lights. So you have to weigh every word you say, because what you say counts. It will be interpreted by some people in different ways. So you have to be extremely cautious about what you say. And you make sure that the people around you also adopt that same caution. If we start talking, anytime you say something, somebody will come out after you and start insulting you because they think that's the way to please the president. I mean, we have to move away from that politics of insults, personal attacks, indecency. I told, I think I can't remember where it was, one of the platforms, I said, anytime I have this sort of events, when I finish, I know people are listening. My mom's sister, for example, she listens all the time. One of my uncles, he listens all the time. I do not intend to make them hear me or my kids or anybody hear me saying something wrong about somebody else. Because then how do I turn to my kids and tell them, you cannot say this, if I'm saying it myself? How do I discipline them? How do I discipline people around me? How do I talk to people and say tribalism is just being nurtured by some to divide us, and whilst we fight, they are robbing us blind? How can I say that if I indulge it in myself? Because that is not going to take us anywhere. What we need is to make sure that when those people go out of line and start insulting you, you ignore them. You ignore them because they want to draw you into that gutter. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. So you let them say what they need to say. The government will judge for themselves. You concentrate on the issues. You concentrate on what is going to help our country to move forward. We are in this because we want to give back to this country. I keep saying, I don't need to do this. I can just sit back in my corner. My retirement pension alone is more than enough to help me live decently in this country or anywhere else. But I come into this because I feel that I owe it to this country. I am where I am today because the Gambia put me there. The Gambia paid for my primary school, my high school, and I got a scholarship to the Gambia government to go to university. All that I've achieved is through this government and this country. So I need to give back. And that's what you are all doing. You can be doing your things in the US and not bothered by this country, and be better off. You won't get the insults, you won't get the criticisms. But you care for this country. That's why you come here. You set up this forum. You talk about the continent's issues. And that's what we must keep doing. The negative people will always be there. But if we marginalize them, we do not respond to their insults. We don't respond to their negativity. Gradually, we will marginalize some of them and we can move forward. I welcome criticism because that's the only way to develop. And if I sit with Usainu Dabo and we argue issues and we disagree, but we rarely disagree because we can discuss any issue and he will listen to your point of view. And I do that with other people who are even in UDP. We sit, we discuss. And if things were right, we should be able to sit and do that with the government. That's why I asked, when Ibrahim Silla invited me to a debate, I said, I'm willing to come because I want us to discuss issues. And I told him, when you come with the facts and figures, we discuss that. We want to discuss these issues so we take the country forward. And I would debate any government official who wants to debate because we need to discuss issues. That's why we help each other. That's why we take the country forward. I have got no animosity towards anybody in government. I disagree with your point of view and your action, I will criticize it. But the criticism is not personal. I have nothing against you. I don't see these people, in fact. It's the ideas we criticize. It's the ideas we fight against. It's the ideas we say this is not right, we cannot continue to go and we have to call it out. And that's what we must all continue doing to get this country where we want it to be. So the negativity, the criticism, if we get the president to move away from that, he will do us all a big service. If you say that and say that kind of thing, there are so many people in the UDP who will go to him and tell him what he cannot say this and stop him and tell him the wrong thing to say. And we are all better off for it. That's what we need to do. I'm sorry, people are calling. I'm trying to reject those calls. But we all need to be able to talk to people around us, with us, and we all have to, in our individual capacities. That's where the fight is. Not only at the party level, at the family level, but our individual capacities, we have to aim for that decency and for that positive approach to the country. And we can all do this, but we just have to be consistent and do it. Look, my simple take is this: any one of us, from our childhood days today, have people right across the ethnic divide in this country, the regional divide. And I do not wish to lose any of those friends because I'm being unreasonable, because I'm being divisive, because I'm allowing emotions and sentiments to take over from me. No. I get people say wrong things about me here because I'm speaking out. Yeah. It comes with the territory. Yeah. I accept it. I won't respond. If you criticize my ideas, I will respond to that because we need to change that. But that's where we go. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Manneh, we've been talking policies for a minute. Let's go to the interesting thing. Let's do politics now. Because at the end of the day, you can have the best programs and policies in the world. But unless and until you win elections and actually govern, it's not going to amount to anything.
Yes, that's true.
Good to have nice manifestos and programs and policies, but you got to win an election.
Absolutely.
Now, as a political observer, I have said this yesterday, the day before, and I'm going to say it again today. That at this juncture, come 2026, the only viable vehicle to bring about change, defeat Barrow, is the UDP vehicle. I believe that. I could be wrong as hell, but I do believe that. I also do believe that in 2021, we all believe that UDP was the viable vehicle that will bring about change, but it did not happen.
Yes.
I have listened to you, different interviews, and you talked about that the elections were stolen.
Yes.
The only reason why UDP lost because the elections were stolen.
Yes.
I disagree. I'm going to give you an opportunity to convince me.
Okay. Very good.
So please go ahead. Convince me that the elections were stolen. And just bear in mind, now I just don't want to bear in mind, out of every 100 people that lined up in 2020 participate in that election, only 27 people voted for the United Democratic Party. So when you answer this question, I want you to put that in context. Only 27 people actually voted for your party.
Oh dear, it's gone again.
So please convince me that the elections were stolen.
I think the internet froze most. It's the Salum internet.
It's not the Salum internet. It's the Gambia internet. So maybe it's better if he goes and come back, maybe. I don't know. Okay, at least he's going and coming back. So Pop Samba, so naka ALDB demba.
So who nekani tasla def? I don't think I am up to this.
Sunday Park.
This.
Sunday Park.
I am no Sunday Park is today. But mom is okay. Sunday Park mom, you can run it during the day. When you're old, like you, and you should know something about that,
Being old.
Being old.
So I understand that Atlanta is actually going to the finals, right?
Yeah, they're going to the finals with New England. And I found myself yesterday rooting for Atlanta, and I told them, what?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm back. And I apologize for this.
No, you're good.
So you have to take a thing. It's either the Salum internet or the UDP internet. So you gotta choose one. One or the other.
So
you're giving me a difficult choice there, because if I need to, then I'll go for Salum.
All right, Father Moose.
Okay.
Yeah.
As to why.
Yes.
So you have
Thank you very much. So let me answer that question, please. When 2021 was happening, we set up a command center and we sat there to monitor the results coming in. And up to about 10:30, the results were coming in and we were winning big. And all of a sudden it stopped. The results stopped coming. And we started calling our people in the field, and we could not get to anybody, or very few people. People disappeared, people started answering their phones, etc. Some even put off their phones. And we found that extremely strange. So we were wondering what's happening. But eventually, of course, we realized that our polling agents were tampered with. Or put it bluntly, some of them were bought.
They were bought.
So some of them refused to sign the result slips. Some of them just walked away and they didn't even sign anything, so result slips were taken. But what also happened was that the results which came in, we were getting results in areas where we knew we won, and when they were aggregated at the collation centers, the results that came out were different from what obtained on the ground. So we went to the IEC in the days after that election, said we want you to publish the polling results by polling station for the whole country to see, and we aggregate it, and we will see where the results were. Because at the polling station, where our agents stayed, they all signed up on the result slips. So we have those result slips, and we look at some of them. We know that the results that came out from the collation centers were different from what obtained on the ground. So we said, publish the results polling station by polling station, since it is on the spot counting, not aggregate results from collation centers per constituency or per region. So we can all see what the results are. The election observers, particularly the European Union, asked for the same thing. And to date, we have not received those results from the IEC, and we're still asking for them. We went around and did our own data collection and our own result slip collection and our own tallies. And we saw what was happening on the ground. We included all of that in our election petition to show the Supreme Court and everybody that we won. And also the fraudulent registrations that happened. We didn't have time to collect for the entire country, but we did a very representative sample to show that also, in addition to tampering with the results from the polling stations, there was a lot of fraudulent registration of voters. We saw that also. We collected that and we added it to our petition. We also saw that there were areas, for example, particularly around the border areas, but not just the border areas. There were areas where you had, for example, villages of about 150 to 200 people, turning in results of over 2,000. When we first saw it, we said, that's not possible here. So we went on the Google Maps first to check. We saw the villages and everything, and then we went on the ground to check. So these are villages where you have about 100 to 200 people, but which were turning in results of 2,200, 2,500. And when we had a dialogue here, national dialogue that they organized, we sat with the IEC people in the hall, and I told them that. And they could not deny it. They said, no, I said, no, you know it's true. So all of those things happen on the ground and at the IEC. And we included all of that in our election petition. But the petition was never examined, and it's thrown out for a technicality. If they had examined that petition, the court would have no choice but to declare the results null and void, and we start again. Either we recount or we go for another election. So from then on, we said to ourselves, this has happened, and we went by the law because people were so upset they wanted to go out and demonstrate. And if they did, it would have been a fight. And Hussein said, no, I don't want anybody's blood being spilled. I don't want to go to State House walking in people's blood. Let's just take it easy. Let's follow the law. Let's go to the court and let's petition it. People were spoiling for the fight, and he refused. I was there. He even went out to sing for them to try to calm them down. Eventually, he succeeded. If we had done our that day, it would have been a disaster. So we didn't want that to happen. But we know that in 26, these people are just calling, and I'm trying to reject their calls, but they continue calling. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So we know that there is a potential for that to recur in 2026.
Okay.
And if we go to the court, we might not have again what we deserve. So we said this will not happen again. And we started putting in place our own software and what we need to do to make sure that we capture all the results as they come in real time, and there will be no more of the same fraudulent results pronouncements. And as soon as we talked about it,
that electronic, that digitalization that you're talking about, that you believe it would make the difference. And let me just give you an example. I mean, we're talking about Georgetown Administrating Area polling station in Janekunda in Kau.
Yes.
Okay. So before, let's say in 2021, you have your own polling agent in Jane who was basically recording. I mean, after the polling closed, the polling station closed, they counted it, and your polling agent was there to witness everything, put it on a piece of paper, and maybe transmit that information to you. And some of the problems that you said you guys encountered was not able to communicate with the polling agent, right? So now you are saying in 2026, you guys are going to go digital. Is that right?
Yes.
Meaning
We are going
the polling agent would be, I'm just trying to say, instead of him having a pencil and a paper to witness, what would he be having? Some electronic device, you believe? And that would make
no,
difference?
they will still have the pen. Yes, they will still have the pen and pencil, because when the results are counted, when the votes are counted and the results finalized,
right,
the presiding officer in the polling station and all IEC officials there, plus the representatives of all the parties, sign off on the results. So we train our people to tell them, when you come at the beginning, make sure that you verify that the ballot box is empty, you count the number of votes, and at the end you count the number of votes, etc. We tell them everything, how to do it. Once the counting is done, once counting starts, stay there all day. When the counting is done, you verify everything, and you all sign up, and you get your copy. Because the law says that every agent there for every political party, plus the IEC, each one is supposed to have a copy of the results. Once they get their copies, that is what they're going to snap and other things, other ways, and then they will forward those results to us directly into our server. And we will be capturing the results in real time. There are 1,555 polling stations in this country. Hopefully, we will have a bit more with the diaspora voting, and we will be in the region of 1,600, 700. And at that point, we will still counter for that, and we will make sure that the polling stations in the diaspora will be able to transmit the same results to us. And we know the government. Yes.
With some of the evidences that you guys had, that unfortunately the Supreme Court did not hear it for whatever technical reasons. Did you guys explore, because I see it here in the US, did you guys explore the idea of, we have the evidence, there are certain number of people that actually are non-Gambians and voted, why didn't you go to court and said, or take the IEC to court? Forget about going to the Supreme Court to see whether the elections should be overturned or not. But like, we have the evidence here, and we're going to go to court to prove to the Gambian people that the elections were actually stolen. We're going to take the IEC to court. Did you guys explore that? Or was that not something?
No, because in the Gambia, only the Supreme Court is competent jurisdiction for election matters.
Okay. So you couldn't go to... Sorry?
It's just like 4 questions, right? Can we kind of go around that way? Mr. Manneh can ask all the questions. I mean, we're spending too much time, and I'm just protesting that you are asking 4 questions to some of these questions. We had these answers over and over, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. You know, I thought everyone's supposed to ask 2 questions.
Yes, what I'm saying here, to quickly answer to that.
When you ask, I don't interject. I don't.
Okay.
No,
to quickly
you
answer
asked
that.
2 questions, and this is your 4th one, right? And we're talking about the same issue.
I don't see a 4th question here.
I think this is important. Let me answer this. What we did, we only Supreme Court is competent to hear election protest, so petition. So we went there, and we went there again, requesting the Supreme Court to review its decision, and again it refused. So we were stuck. We don't have any other possibility of going to another court to challenge this decision. So we were stuck. So to avoid that repeating itself next time, that's why we put in place our own infrastructure to make sure that the results, when they come, we will all have it in real time, and nobody was going to cheat us again out of our victory. Because, you see, what we say is, if we lose fairly and squarely, we say we've lost, hard luck, let's go for it next time. We didn't do well, we'll do better next time. But we cannot accept that we win an election and we are cheated out of our victory. That is very difficult. And we knew that we won. And the way things are going in the country right now, I think Gambians, from all of these programs and other programs, Gambians are getting more and more enlightened. And especially they are feeling the difficulty in the country on a daily basis. Anybody who goes to the market, who goes to hospital, who goes to school, who has to buy cash power, etc., who has to communicate on the internet, we all know the difficulties we face in this country. So people live it on a daily basis and they know things can be different. And if you continue with this government, it's not going to change. And I tell people, are you sure you want to live another 5 years of this mess and it getting worse by the day? Nobody wants to do that. So we know that we will win. And we are going to be talking to other parties to bring two people together because we know we can win, but we want as wide a coalition as possible of Gambians because Gambia needs all of its sons and daughters. And we want to bring people together. Because when you come to power, whether you like it or not, you're going to be representing every Gambian, those who voted for you or not. So why not start now? So what we're doing now is to avoid election fraud and election tensions, post-election tensions. You do what is required. You see, Pasteur did it here next door, and by the time it was 9 o'clock, everybody knew who won. And that's what we're trying to do. And that is what helped us to have the results we had in the local elections, because they could not do it. And at the time, our software was not as performing as it is today. That's why and you see, if you remember the time of the swearing in for the second term, it was like the country was bereaved. Very few people came out, and they even had to delay the swearing in to a point where heads of state left. People didn't come out even to witness that.
Yeah.
So that's the reality on the ground, and we know that. But we want to do this in a way. We want to be doing in a way where we abide by the law, where we do not create political and other tensions in the country for people to get hurt or to lose their lives. We want to safeguard Gambian lives. We want to make sure that elections reflect the will of the Gambian people. And whoever wins fairly and squarely. Whoever loses goes for the next one and try again. That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way we want it to be.
Let me allow Brother Larry King to come in and ask questions, because he's filibustering me. Go ahead, Brother Larry.
We're having a silent discussion here.
Why am I being called Larry King?
No, we're having a solemn discussion.
Now, Dr. Manneh, you will know the title behind the cousins, right? They are pounding on the platform. So, he knows, I know where we're going with this. So, Dr. Manneh, you highlighted some key issues. Lack of delivery for basic service, which this government is elected to do. Rampant corruption. Taking people's plight seriously and taking that message. Now, in hindsight, what happened in 2021 can be undone. We know that you know that. Barrow is still going to be at the helm of the presidency until 2026. So we said in that, lessons learned, how do we craft our message? Like the opposition, especially UDP and the coalition that you're talking about, to tap into people's emotions, appealing to them, and putting the bread and butter issue at the forefront of their plight, and crafting that message that hits their doors, that will entice, at least motivate them to vote for UDP or to vote for a coalition opposition to unseat Barrow come 2026.
Yes, what we do is we talk to people's realities directly, because we all live this situation here on a daily basis. And you in the diaspora live it also on a daily basis, because when people get stuck, they turn to you and request for assistance. And you keep sending money to family and friends. So you also live it on a daily basis. So what I'm saying is, we talk to the governments, we tell them, you know where we were in 2016 and where we could have been and all the missed opportunities. You know how this country has been getting more difficult by the year. And we are telling you, we've been telling you since 2021 that it's going to get worse every year. And it is getting worse every year. And by 2026, it's going to be even more difficult. Now, do you want to see this deterioration continue? Or do you want to arrest that situation and try something different? Because if this continues, you're just going to embolden them to continue doing worse. Because the corruption and the impunity has got to a point that they have become arrogant about it. They thumb their chest to us about these things as if they are better than us. Now, we tell the people, you know how much you have been paying for school fees. And that's getting more and more difficult every year. University students are dropping out because the parents cannot afford it anymore. People are trying to contribute where they can to keep some of them in school. But with the best of intentions, nobody can do it all. People are going to hospitals and they are dying because something as simple as electricity or water is not available. Something as simple as a dialysis machine is not working. A scanner is not there, or an ambulance is not available. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital had one working ambulance for the whole of that referral hospital. A small clinic like AfricMed has 3 or 4 ambulances. And the whole of the main referral hospital had only 1 ambulance. And even there, sometimes you got to say, we have to buy fuel. So you have all of these issues happening on a daily basis. And we heard recently when Dr. Salah came out and again told us the horrors that are happening in the place. After COVID funds, which were squandered, after the malaria funds, which were squandered, Dr. Salah told us all that is happening again there. And we tell people, is this what you want to see continue? We see what is happening in Nawek. The costs are getting higher and the services are getting poorer. The internet connections, you can't have a decent communication with people outside without losing your connections all the time. The kids are going to school, they are failing in large numbers. The last results for grade 12 exams, 91% of the kids in the public schools failed. 91%. Only 9% passed. But in the private sector, private schools, 90% passed. Only 10% failed. And we can arrest that situation. Education is the equalizer. We are here because we went to the public schools and that's how we all got here. So those who are lucky to send their kids to private school, wonderful. And we hope that all Gambians can do that in due course. But until then, we have to make sure the public schools and also cater for our kids. We have to make sure that our hospitals can provide for the sick. We have to make sure that the utilities work for all of us, or there will be no investment, there will be no development of any sort. We have to make sure that we can travel and not be killed by all sorts of taxis at the airport. We have to make sure that our port continues to function and not everything goes to Senegal and things become more and more expensive. Our dalasi has been falling on a free fall until the beginning of this year when we managed to stabilize it. Hope that continues. Any sector you talk about is the same litany of wars. Even something as simple as road clearing, they had to mess it up. And the Gambians lost their livelihoods because government didn't want to plan it properly and get them a place where they can go and get a living. These OIC roads and OIC organization, over $350 million went into that. And we have nothing to show for it, virtually nothing. And we're going to pay back most of that loan, or most of those loans rather. And that's going to impact even more adversely our debt distress situation. And we're going to get to a point where the debt will be so bad, we'll get to 1986, actually, when I came back, when I could not get employment because there was an economic recovery program. We're heading that way again.
Is Dr. Manneh there?
Program on the country. This government is struggling every end of month to pay salaries, as simple as salaries.
So Dr. Manneh, I'm going to ask a follow-up question here. Is he there or is still frozen?
Their April salaries were not paid until last. Still frozen. Yeah, sorry. So we talk to the Gambians about all of these issues that they are living on a day-to-day basis. And we tell them, surely you don't want to continue in this situation. Surely you don't want to get this worse. And the response we are getting is that we're having people defecting to UDP in hordes. Our youths are very active. Our youth wing are doing a lot of campaign on the ground, and the number of villages that are transferring to UDP, they are large numbers. And when they do, they get harassed. Some of them tell us, stop calling it, stop announcing it. Some say, announce it. We don't care. But some say, don't announce it because we get harassed day in, day out. But we are with you. So people everywhere are changing because they see that the impact is having a very negative effect on all of them, on their livelihoods. I tell you, there are people I know who could cater for themselves, who didn't need any assistance from anybody. Today they turn to you for assistance because they are stuck. That is difficult. These are very hardworking people I know who never needed anybody's assistance. Today they are turning to other people for assistance. I mean, that's very painful. And the government turns around and tells you, oh, no, we can't do anything about it because it's the same situation all over the world. I don't get up and tell my family in the morning, oh, sorry, today there's no lunch or dinner because the world is difficult. I can't do that. And no family does that here. Everybody tries to put at least one meal on the table for the day. But even that is becoming difficult. So the government should also work towards changing that situation, not give us the lame excuse, oh, it's the same thing all over the world. No, we elected you to manage this country differently and better. If we do as little as produce our own food, we will make a big difference. And we can do that.
Yeah, Dr. Manneh, thank you very much. So the other question that I have, and this always comes up. So, Dr. Barrow, unfortunately, our former cousin and brother, he's a byproduct of UDP.
Yes.
And he came into coalition on the UDP, and between 2016, 2018, there was a lot of things. And I think Coach Pasamba asked you a question when the party leader and Secretary General was Foreign Affairs. He says there was an expansion on the foreign services, and also the finance minister. And always, whenever you talk about Barrow and UDP, they throw this curveball out there. Oh, UDP has been in government between 2016 and 2018. All this stuff, you guys were like supporting Barrow, all the stuff that he does, all these things that they throw this out there. And they think that UDP and MPP is 6 and 9. And I want us, because I really felt that despite UDP hasn't pushed back on this notion very hard, because I think, to be honest with you, I think it's ludicrous in the highest order to think that UDP and MPP are 6 and 9. But you have the opportunity, and you go out there on Coffee Time and talk. For the sake of our viewers today, I want you, Dr. Nyancho Manneh, I want you to set the stage and craft the difference between MPP and UDP. And also, if there were mistakes made in 2018, I want you to acknowledge that. But what is UDP going to do differently than the MPP Definitely. We in terms of policy, because I'm just tired of this crybaby saying all the time there are UDP.
Are you asking a question or are you asking?
I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
I cannot resist. Dr. Manneh,
I'm going to have to be the moderator here now.
Coach, I take that back. Coach,
so
I'm asking the question now, Dr. Manneh.
I think I'm going to have to be the moderator now. I'll have to be the moderator. No, you see, government is solidarity. When you are there, what happens? You accept responsibility for the mistakes. You don't throw the other people under the bus. You accept responsibility for it, and that's the decent thing to do. And UDP has accepted those mistakes which you have made. But we also have to push back and say that we were part of a coalition government, and Adama Barrow had the ultimate decision. For example, when Amadou Sane came up with the vehicle policy, which was supposed to save this country $300 million a year, it was approved by Parliament and everything. Barrow refused to implement it because he thought UDP was trying to undermine his policies, that he would be unpopular. So he refused to implement it. And that was the wrong decision to make. When the elections were, I think it was just before the 21 elections or just after, Barrow went out himself and said that from 2017, Fabakary Tombong Jatta and Sidin Jai were already working with him and telling him, throw out the UDP so we can come and help you. So even from 2017 and 2018, when we were in government with him, he was working to undermine UDP and to throw it out. So anything you did was refused. That's why he moved Amadou Sane from finance and said, his arm was cut up, I think, just above the shoulder. So he wouldn't, meaning he's miserly, he wouldn't give money out. And he was trying to bring in common sense economic policies to change the situation because the guy was already in a difficult situation. But when he refuses to do some of those things, you cannot force him. He's the president. And there are a number of other decisions that happen like that. Like, for example, the energy policy. When the energy policy was being discussed and they were going to go for car power and the rest, and I was at the ADB at the time, and we were getting calls from our colleagues in the World Bank, IMF, etc., saying, you guys can't be serious, you can't do this. There has to be a tender, we have to follow procedures, etc., or we're going to have to review our cooperation with the Gambia. We pleaded with some of them not to do it. We called here. I personally called Amadou Sane and told him, look, you guys can do this. He said, look, I've done my best, but Barrow is not listening. And he has told his energy minister to go ahead and sign for this. Some of these things we shouldn't say because there is some amount of secrecy in government. And there's this amount of decorum and solidarity. But sometimes you have to say for the government people to know what is happening. At the ADB, we sat down at one point when Gamtel was getting into difficulties. And we have some very good Gambians who were in IT, Saliu Jack, Male Sen, etc. We sat with all of the ADB guys and Gambians at the ADB. We sat there, we drafted something, and we communicated it here, and we discussed with them, and we had a telephone conversation with them. Lamin Barrow and all of them were part of it. In fact, we did a meeting at Lamin Barrow's house. We had to talk, we discussed, try to help where we can. But again, the response was Adama Barrow doesn't want this to happen. So what do you do? The ultimate decision belongs to the president. If he has other people working alongside him, undermining the rest of government, undermining all common sense policies, there isn't much you can do. And that's what culminated in throwing out the UDP from government. And that is what wrecked the country, because the $1.7 billion we had in pledges at the Roundtable Conference, that's how we lost all of it. Because people saw that, the partners saw that the people who negotiated this were the Amadou Sanes, the lawyer Dabo etc. These are the people who managed to convince the donors to bring in the money. When they were thrown out, the donors said, something is amiss here. Maybe we shouldn't give the money, we should wait and see. And they saw the corruption go mounting crescendo. And they stopped giving money to the country. And we lost all that potential. About $1.35 billion was lost from those pledges because the government took the wrong decisions. And that's exactly the same thing that happened recently with OIC. When they tried to make Lamin, Manneh, Nyangjais, and the rest do the things they didn't want to do because it's wrong, and they left, the pledges didn't come. Some of them didn't come. Some of the promises that were made didn't happen. Some of the grants didn't happen. So basically, the UDP, when it was in government, made sure that it played this part and showed solidarity with government, with the president, to make these things happen. But it takes two to tango. And if the president doesn't want to do it, you can't force his hand. He is the head of the executive. He makes the final decisions. But you play along and you try as much as possible to limit the damage. It was damage control at the time. And today we're living the consequences. Because if you refuse to accept common sense economic policies, common sense management policies, the rogue elements go berserk and they wreck the country. And that's where we are.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling how any head of state can put up with so much corruption. Her head should have been rolling a long time ago. If few people at the beginning of this whole corruption saga, if some people were punished at the beginning and the right decisions taken, we could have contained the corruption. But it's all across the ministries. Look, I live not far from Senegambia here. When you go to there, the tourism sector is dead. Restaurants are closing down earlier than planned. They go on repairs because they can't sustain it. They can't pay their staff. People are out of a job. The amount of them spend the whole day because they can't stay home, but they don't make anything. Restaurants are in trouble. Hotels are in trouble. You know, because you increase the tax on electricity for them 47%. So on top of all by 47%, what do you expect? You can them to have fired was just promoted to another position. His own board, the tourism board, went to parliament to complain about him. And nothing has happened. He went there, he put on a big show, and the whole thing died its natural death. So these are all the problems we have. And these are not these are the NPPs making, not UDP. And we call this out every day. And we are being attacked for that. But we will not stop, because the Gambia is worth the trouble, it's worth the insults, it's worth everything. And we all have to fight, because we have so much to lose if we do not salvage this country. I have seen a number of failed states on this continent. And you know what it takes to keep those countries afloat. Recovery, some of them is going to be a century's work. But keeping them afloat, even afloat, is a huge difficulty. Once the loans dry up, and they're going to dry up, and the grants and the budget support, how do you pay your civil servants? How do you invest in the basic services? So they're going to cut back on the social services. They're going to increase all taxes. They're going to make you pay more for medical services. They're going to make you pay more for electricity, etc., etc. This is the reality of the country today. And we have to be lucid enough to accept that and stare it in the face and do something about it. And that is not a question of party politics, it's a question of national survival. It's a question of national survival. We cannot continue on this path.
Yeah.
Another 5 years of Barrow, we will be a failed government. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and
Coach, go ahead.
No, because we are at 4 o'clock now. We've had Dr. Manneh for 3 good hours, and the old man supposed to be going somewhere. I think dafa am ñu mo takka xam nga mo may magati Atlanta bi so takka sey yebo ko takka fofu non. Why Dr. Manneh, I just wanted to thank you. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us. I must say something though before I let you say your last words. Definitely, I think what you and Larry Cisse are doing, looking from outside as a non-member of that party, a great thing for any political party to have. Because I think for a very long time, the UDP had considered the intellectual space to other parties. And I think with all this engagement that you have, at least you've shown a different side of the party where issues are now being discussed. Because I don't think anybody now can accuse you of, or what are the policies of the UDP or what do they stand for. And I just wanted to give you those props. Honesty is just honesty. When you see somebody doing great, you just have to say it. So I think you guys are doing great. So I don't know what your closing remarks are, but we really appreciate having you. And I hope this is not the last time that we'll be having you here.
Yes. And those are going to be my closing remarks, because this time we discuss, the problems of the country, with difficulties we're facing, etc. And we touch slightly on how the UDP is going to do things different, a different solution. So I hope that the next time we come, we will be able to discuss UDP's recommendations and policies and what it wants to do to turn things around.
Correct.
And we can turn it will take 2-3 years of very tough measures and difficult decisions to make, but we can turn the situation around. And this is what I hope we can discuss next time I come on the interview, because it's all very well to criticize and say what is going wrong, but we also want to give our version of developing this country, how we're going to go about it, what we think we should do, and what we know we can do. So we want to discuss that, because when we get this country back on track, you see that most of the people who are in the UDP today, who are retired civil servants, retired international civil servants, etc., or from diaspora, a number of us will take a back seat and just be able to retire and enjoy the rest of our lives, what's left of it, and let the other people take over from here. Some people want to come forward. They are not as experienced, or they are young, or they are in positions where they cannot talk. So at least we had a privilege. So we want to do that. Because, and I keep repeating that, we have no animosity towards anybody in this government. And we would want, at the end of their tour of duty, to stay in this country and be senior statesmen and be able to have a good, decent life in this country with the respect that they deserve. And if there are anything, missions like OAU, ECOWAS and the like, they're being proposed for those mediations and all the different activities, and go out there and do that. And we as Gambians take pride in that. Heads of state, ministers. That's what we want. So if we can do that, it's good for them, it's good for the country. But that will be their own making. We want them to reflect again. What we say to Barrow, he should learn from what happened to Jammeh. When things went bad for Jammeh, all the people around him abandoned him, and those are the people around him, Barrow, today. And they're going to push him to the same mistakes that Jammeh made. And when things go bad, they will abandon him too and look for the next green pasture somewhere. And he will face that music alone. We do not want that for him. We do not want that for this country. You saw the TRRC and the humiliation people went through there. That should teach everybody to be careful, not to have to put your family and yourself through that. And it's still time to do that. It's still time to move away from all these wrong attitudes and policies and save our country. For God's sake, this is the only country we have.
Yeah.
You can have a dual citizenship, but this is your country of birth, and it has a soft spot in your heart for. You have a soft spot in your heart for it. So let's make it work for every Gambian, within and without, people in the country and people in the diaspora. Let's make it work for everybody. Look at Rwanda today. The diaspora and Rwandans are flocking into the country, investing and making a good amount of money in the country, even when they live abroad. We want to see the same thing happen for the Gambia. Gambians within the country make a decent living, and Gambians outside the country who want to stay outside, invest here and make a decent living, decent amount of money out of it. When we all have a stake in the economy, in the running of the country, it will be better for all of us. But if some people don't care and they can see the country burn, that's a big risk. So we should make sure that everybody has a stake in this country, in its stability, in its development. That's what's best for all of us. And that's what we're striving for. And for that, we need every Gambian on board. Inside the country, outside the country, the youth, the women, the old, the young, everybody. And we should be working towards that. And that's what I hope President Barrow will work towards henceforth, and drop this divisive rhetoric. Drop the divisive rhetoric and be a head of state. Be a leader. Not a gang leader. Be the leader of a country. And we really hope that for him, because that's his good name, that will be his legacy. And I thank you all so much for giving me this opportunity. And especially I thank you guys for doing this for the country, because you have an audience. And when you say these things, people listen. And that's the way we're going to have change come about, by telling the people what we believe should be and can be. As I said, you can all go do other things, but you care about this country. We care about it. We all care about it. Let's do this together. Let's talk. Let's do what is needed. So, and I thank all your listeners and the people viewing it. And I say thank you to you all. And hey, let's do more of it, and then we try to change the country.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Manneh. It was a good one.
Thank you.
You showed your colors. The Salum, you are straight shooter, knows what he's talking about. This platform is known for one thing and one thing only. We invite people and we challenge them. I mean, that's what you do here. And you have definitely demonstrated that you have what it takes. We will have you again. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Musa, one thing I wanted to add though, Dr. Manneh, I mean, this is not that bad, right? For the people, by the people. I think you came here and we had a very good conversation. And we'll definitely like Mr. Cisse too to accord us the same opportunity, because what I heard is Mr. Cisse has not been responding, Larry. So we're appealing for you to use your connections at least. Yeah. So for him to at least, come in and share some information with us.
Yeah.
I'll tell him, and I'm sure, I don't know what happened, but I'm sure he'll be happy to come, because you see, when we talk and challenge each other, it brings the best out of all of us.
Absolutely.
It brings the best out of all of us.
I'll take care of that. I'll take his number. When I call him, he will come. Because, that's what I do.
Great.
But it was...
Thank you, man. Thank you very much, Coach.
Tell you, and you were here. Thank you very much. Nobody talks to Musa. I bring the big...
Hey, thank you, sir, Coach. Thank you very much.
You're going after my brother again. You're going after my brother again.
It is not about the person. It is about the platform. Unfortunately,
Coach, we're going to have this... Tell Coach, we're going to have the Salum solidarity here. We're going to have the Salum solidarity if you don't stop going after my brother. That's going to be the Salum solidarity.
Now we are called the UDP TV media.
No. This is going to be the Salum solidarity. The Daniel Mayo guys.
We'll do it.
Pushing up against our number.
Thank you, Dr. Manneh. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Musa. Thank you, Sariang. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Do the
All
job.
right.
And
Bye-bye.
expect him to give Musa.
Musa, I was wondering whether you're going to see MTJ.
Who?
My girl Taylor Green, the bleach blonde,
Oh my
but
God.
Bad body.
built bush body.
Oh,
Somebody told her that at the airport. This African she was standing at the airport waiting for a flight, and the lady just blurted that out, and she just stood there. And she goes, I bet
Yes, Texas versus Georgia. But I tell you what, Jasmine Crockett,
I
my
saw the
sister.
T-shirts and I was like, huh, somebody sent me that T-shirt.
I'm telling you, my sister from another mother. Don't mess with her, man. I'm telling you.
and you know Musa's guy, Trump, you know he was at the
So,
Libertarian.
if any of you come this way, the T-shirt, any.
The what?
I promise you one. I'll get one for you specifically.
Oh, absolutely. We were all over that.
Please make sure you bring me that.
No,
that's Musa's representative, Dr. Manneh, by the way. She's from Georgia. Musa is in Georgia. That's our representative in Parliament.
My representative.
You guys leave my brother alone.
You know he was there.
You guys leave my brother alone now.
And he was, you know, nominate me if you want to win, or don't if you want to lose. You can stay with your 3 points at like 3% and 4%.
I can guarantee you though, where she's coming from, I don't think she can even lose. She will never lose.
And
okay,
condolences to Colonel Boop, the newly
yes, definitely.
Just, you know, suddenly passed away. Man, our young people are dying in the country like
I didn't
crazy.
even know that guy. I saw him on Facebook.
Today the UDP
apparently, she's the same family with Jaina Banyang and Binta Nyang and all that.
Oh man.
Okay.
So I think the mom is their sister. You know.
Right. Today the UDP issued a message of condolence to the family and to the country. Yeah, and I thought that was important because, you know, losing prominent young people like that in the country is sad at any given time, you know, for any given family.
Definitely.
And it's an immense loss for the country. So we pray for him for Allah to grant him Jannatul Firdaus and to all the departed souls.
And our condolences to Mr. Dabo and family for the passing of Fatu Dabo too. You know,
Fatu Dabo, I will do that. I certainly will do that. I will convey the message to him.
Yeah, that's very sad. No.
Thank you very much. I'll convey the message.
Thank you, Dr. Manneh.
Okay, thank you guys.
Manneh,
have a nice evening. Okay.
You are no banker, Manneh. Right. You are the real deal. Thank you.
And rendezvous in Dandemai.
All right, guys. We appreciate you. It's been a good one.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm talking to the Minister of Trade, so we might have him either next or the following week to also.
Good. About,
no, Dr. Manneh, you're good. You're good. We're just doing our.
You can drop off.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Yep. All right. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but most I know you have to be running.
I guess with the trade minister, I guess that my good old Vancouver guy can challenge him because today there was no challenge. Absolutely.
Leave it. No. I couldn't resist this last question. I'm like, because it looks like he was, you know, like in court they would say, Your Honor, objection, leading question. He was not only asking Mr. Manneh the question, but he was
answering it before asking it. I'm like,
because Musa.
When I was asking my question,
no, you asked 4 questions.
I mean, I'm like,
no.
Allow me.
No. You asked 4 questions.
I'm like,
you asked 4 questions about why UDP trying to Trump at the 2021 elections. You know,
didn't want to hear it.
no, but you know, I want to respond to Babukar. I don't even know what he's talking about. Water. He said he didn't say, but I was not asking that question at all. I don't even see where he raised that. I'm asking because a lot of people keep asking, even on the message.
You didn't. I don't think you asked the questions. I think you asked the
I
question.
did.
And you make the argument. I mean, I think questions should be asked and challenged, not make the argument.
No. So now you're telling me you're trying to coach me what I need to ask questions. Is that how we're going to do censorship? Censorship?
I'm saying, ask the question.
I know you are well dressed. I know you're well dressed up today. You are heading out to see Margaret Taylor Greene, the B6. So my regards to her.
But seriously, what is it? What is she doing though? I'm not even aware of that.
No,
she said.
He was trying to.
No, they were. You know. Last week, they said they're going to charge the AG for contempt because he didn't turn over all the freaking prosecutions tapes to Biden if FBI investigation. So, but some of the majority that sits on that committee decide to go to New York to attend Trump's hearing. So they delay the hearing until 8 p.m. So when they came in, Magri, your representative from Georgia never wants to play by the rules. So she was dilly-dallying and she was bringing some crazy stuff because of her incompetence. Then Jasmine said, do you know where we are here for? I'm asking. What has that to do with all of a sudden? Because you guys went to New York, you came in, it's 8 o'clock, we need to get back into business. And he goes, I think your fake eyelashes are messing up. But you know how it is. She's a very polished lawyer, and she knows what and Comey don't know what she's doing. The committee chairman, and they went at it. AOC is the one who first went in. You dare not. So it was like a freaking wild housewives is. In parliament. So they got at it. And you know how she is, man. She tackled this and said, Chairman, I need clarification because the chairman didn't want to rule that, Margaret attacked personality. So he says, I need clarification. But she was taking a jab at your representative. He says, if someone says bleach blonde, bad Bill Bush body, is that a personality? And everybody started cracking up, and they took that as a slogan now, and they had printed T-shirts and all that stuff on it. So now it is a gospel everywhere.
So
B6.
How did you? I don't even miss. You watch the news every time, and I don't even watch the news. But I could.
No, I do. I do.
I missed that. For real?
No.
It was AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez first went after her. You dare not. They try to discipline her. They try to lower the temperature down and insert some discipline. But Margaret, man, she's in discipline like her godfather Trump. So that's what happened. But that fake eyelashes create the B6. So Texas versus Georgia, Texas came ahead, and this is like it's trending all over social media, TikTok, everyone. They made rap music out of it and everything, caricature her. And Coach was saying she was traveling at the airport. Someone caught her and says, bleach blonde, bad Bill Bush body. You like that, huh? And she like all frown her face, and she was standing lonely and everything.
That was. These African Americans, you don't go after them with name calling.
No, you could. You wouldn't.
And she was so cool, calm, and collected. So they asked her. They were like, but you know what Michelle Obama say? If they go low, you go high. Then no.
Yeah.
I'm going low.
So Musa, greetings to her. Do a welfare check on her, and see how she's dealing with this situation, because I think she's back in Georgia for the 3-day weekend.
Hey, watch out now. She could be your next vice president. You never know.
Oh, absolutely. No, with her fake, what is called Louis Vuitton sack that she put on her thing.
She's on the short list. You know that?
For what? Through incompetence. She can be. She can be on the short list all she wants. But what's she gonna do?
This is all I have to say. With all this talk about Africa and our politicians, you guys, you Americans, and your Trump, you have nothing to say about our voters. I'm serious.
Especially Georgia. No, but you, Papco, you got to make this distinction.
Georgia.
Especially rural Georgia, Macon area, where Margaret Taylor Greene is from. So they messed up.
That's where Musa lives.
That's where Musa lives.
I don't live there. I live in the metro. Go look at Douglas. Go look at Douglas County. Go look at Douglas County. In the metro
Those are Musa's people.
But anyway, I gotta go to work.
All right,
Musa, but it was good. It was good.
The last word is I gotta give it to Fatu Kamara.
That's good. That was good.
I'm telling you, the lady just delivered.
I called her today. She's that was at an other level.
Now
that was
I was even thinking last night, I'm like, this girl, I always wanted to be a campaign manager. Maybe I need to start Fatu Kamara for 2026. The girl delivered. She is unbelievable. Congratulations, Fatu Kamara. And I'm out of here, guys. Later.
All right, man. Regards to Margaret Taylor Greene, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.